Hello. Hold on, I think the headsets aren't connected yet. Let me see.
I hear you.
Yeah, but you hear me, but not my headsets. Hi, Dorothy.
Hi.
I have these headsets that are. Okay, let's see. Can you guys speak?
Hello.
Yeah, good. It's working.
Hello.
I used to have the big headsets over my head that were much more comfortable on my ears, but the cable died. And so now I'm wearing these that are on my ears, but they hurt my ears. And I need to connect them with Bluetooth and they tend to want to connect to my phone instead. So it's a bit more of a mess. All right. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Come on in. Welcome to the House of Illustrator. Welcome, Shay Diana on Zoom. Virtual class. Nice to see you, Maria. Hi, Allison. Joyce, everyone who's there. Nice to see you guys. And again, she's my stalwart. We were there in the morning, we're there in the afternoon, we're there all day long. Dorothy used to be in every one of my classes, morning, day, and night, a couple of sessions. And I haven't seen you, what, maybe a couple months? And
Last year sometime.
yeah, sometime in the early. So lots of people come and go, do their projects. So she was doing all my web classes. Now you ended your projects. Now you're back. Nice to see you guys. All right. So while people are signing in, the most important thing that has to happen at the very beginning of class is everyone has to be connected to their Google Drive file stream and their VDI if you do not have the applications. And remember that took us a while last time. I want to get this snip, snap, and in shape within, and this is my goal, 15 minutes. Okay, so raise your hands, your virtual hands, go to the reactions and raise your little virtual hand if you're on VDI. And if you are not on VDI, just give me a little no. So I want an overt answer. It's a yes or a no. The yes is the raised hand, you're on VDI. And the no means no, I have my own programs. I don't need the school programs. No, thank you. Okay. Now, some classes it's half and half, some classes it's many more on VDI. And in this one, I think many of you guys had your own programs. And yeah, that seems to be confirmed by your little nose. How about you? How do you want me to pronounce your name? Sika? How do you say your name?
It's Sisa.
Sisa. Okay. It's so funny because I'm from Spanish, right? And so I'm Argentine. I don't know if you know that, but I'm Argentinian. So it's typical to see CCs or things like that from Cecilia or whatever, but so
I've been living in Costa Rica and they all call me Ceci there for Cecilia instead of Sisa because it's like harder.
Yeah,
I guess.
Sisa is confusing because the second
Yeah.
C would never, in Spanish, a C followed by an A would never be an S, would be always a C, right? So we're like, So I'm trying to read the things and going, I better ask. I'm going to get this wrong. All right. So if I keep getting it wrong, correct me because I am like the Costa Ricans, kind of like, I want to say Sika there, not Sisa. So good. All right. It's like how funny how our brains, you guys don't probably hear the Spanish in me too much, but English is my second language and I still read things and I want to off the top say them in Spanish and how I pronounce them. And then when I see any name that's written like spelled out Japanese or Chinese names, if you say them and how Spanish would pronounce them, they pronounce perfectly exactly the same. Like if you pronounce in Spanish a spelled out in letters we understand from Japanese and Chinese, how Spanish pronounces Chinese and Japanese perfectly well without all the intonations, but like the sounds of them, right? But in English, it's completely the opposite. So anyway, all of this chit chat is for you to be signing in to your VDI and to your Google Drive. Johnny, I think you got it pretty handled with your Google Drive, right? You got that all?
Yeah.
Because you also are doing the digital design techniques class. So you're fine. Joyce, you were just in the morning class, so you've got that handled too, right? You're in your Google Drive all signed in. And everyone else seems to be on their own computers. Sika, do you have your own Illustrator Photoshop version?
thing that I'm missing is all the handouts from the last class, but
Okay, there's no handouts from last class. There's a folder where you have all the class handouts at once. So I'm going to take you there, because if you have the files, if you have Illustrator and Bridge set up, you've installed Bridge as well.
no. Not
All right.
Bridge.
So in the email I sent with all the instructions, it was like update your Zoom, install Bridge, and open up Illustrator. So while we're talking, go and download Bridge, and then I'll take a second to show you the files, because you need to did you download the class files, or you still need to download the class
Well,
files?
so no, I followed that handout to the point, but there's no folder with my name on it, like it said it
It
would
won't
be.
have your name on it. It would have the shared drives, the Illustrator files. I'll lead you
It
there
has,
in a
it
minute.
has nothing. I'm there, but it has nothing.
Okay, so, and you are officially, yeah, I think you're officially, I didn't drop you because you answered. Because, okay, I'll have you guys, I'll have you share your screen in a minute and we'll go there. I'm
I
letting
think I
people
may have
in.
just found it. I was in shared with me, not shared drives.
Ah, there you go. Shared drives. Perfect. Who else was I looking at? I was looking at Maria. Maria, are you on your own computer or on BDI? Like
On my own computer.
on your own?
I just purchased the Illustrator.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
but I'm trying to download it now. I don't know how it's yet, but I need to follow the instruction first.
Uh-oh,
And then I
you're
start
trying to
with the-
download it right now?
Yeah.
Okay. If you got the email back with all the instructions to download, it might happen fast, or you might just want to do VDI to follow the class until that's set up. You see, because if you do install the files, if you do install your programs to do them today, you also have to download the class files. Did you download the class files yet?
No, I did look at that, but I didn't download the class file.
Okay, so it might be easier now to start today to keep doing VDI then, because you still have to download the programs, install them, and download the class files if you're going to use your own programs, right? So maybe you should just connect to VDI for now, or just watch the class while you do all that until you're ready to go with your own, and then catch us up. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Allison, yeah.
Okay, so I have Illustrator on my computer. I have the class files downloaded, all of that. Can you explain the bridge part?
Yeah, I'll do that. So just remind me again who wasn't here last week.
I wasn't here.
Is it just Sika and Allison? Maria, Maria, that's true. That's why you weren't here either. I forgot for some reason. I thought you had been here. And Dorothy, but Dorothy, you kind of know the setup, even though you need to be reminded now of how we do the shared drive, but you know the setup. Okay, so that's 4 of you guys. So I want you to know that I emailed all of you guys instructions of what to do to prepare for today.
I saw all that.
But I understand that sometimes the second day still gets a little, so I'm going to help you guys. Now, I just want to be clear. All of you guys who missed the class are saying that you have the applications. So that means that's good, because at least all of the new people are on the same system, which is at what I call at home, is at home, meaning you have your own applications. Everyone's sitting at home, I know, or at work or wherever you are. But when I say it's school, I mean the people on VDI, and at home is people who have their own creative cloud. Okay, just trying to translate now. So people at home need to download the class files for this to work. Did you, now that you found them, Sika, did you also find the folders you need to download?
Yes, I did. And Bridge is downloading too. I know.
All right. So basically at this point, all that's left is, let me confirm with Dorothy. Did you download the class files?
I did, but I don't know where they are. They're in my downloads.
They're probably, by default, they would probably have landed in your downloads folder. Yeah.
Yeah, they are in my downloads. What do I
Okay.
do with them? What do I do
Okay.
now?
So now I will explain what we do with them, which is a little bit Allison's question, which is what's Bridge all about? So I'm just trying to first make sure I got everyone handled on their path to downloading files. And if you don't know where they are, or if you need help, please ask me. This is the time to ask me and I'll help you. But Maria,
Yes.
and Sika are still downloading the files. So I want to make sure you know where to download them from. Do you need help? Are you clear, or do you need me to show you that? I'm happy. I just want to know what you need. Maria,
You
do you
just
know?
want them downloaded like to our computers?
So here's the deal. Yeah. For those of you who are at home, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to do a little mini what to do with your files, which all of you guys are it seems very well near there. So this shouldn't take long. You need to go to your pipeline account. So how you get there, start with sbcc.edu. So Maria and
I can get to that place.
Sika. Right. So you get to this place. I need to get to this place because I can't show it to you without getting to this place. So give me a second because I'm not there yet. Oh, this is yeah, I haven't, long story, but my Firefox, I have different browsers that access different things. I need to open Google for that. Let me do a different share screen. Okay, here we go. So pipeline.sbcc.edu. I get here, sign in. And as I get these things, I'll begin explaining the point of bridge. So then when you're here, if you're only a non-credit student, you'll see the word student non-credit. If you're also someone who has taken a credit class, you will only see the word student there, but it's the same place we go. You click on that link. Now for student, you also have to click on class resources, but for student non-credit, you're already in class resources. And here on the far right, you see the word Google Drive. Click on Google Drive. And over here on the left, instead of my drive or shared with me, we go to Google shared drives. Now I have a bunch because these are all the classes I teach, but you guys should see only the folder of the classes you're in. So if you're 1, 2, or 3 of them, you should see them. And one of them is the Illustrator shared drive. You double click and here are the class files. Now, the ones that you need to download so that they're on your computer, so that your computers can access them, are this folder called Illustrator class files. So you don't open the folder. If you did double click on open, back up one, right? And then right click on that and say download. And then those will start downloading probably into your downloads folder unless you've changed the destination, and they will come in zipped because there's a bunch of them and you have to go extract them before they're usable. So that's one part. If you need help with any of that, stop me there. But now let me show you the rest of what's in here are the handouts that I was referring to that are available for you to open on a case-by-case basis. Now, everyone here, I want to show you something about these handouts. There's one that I think is a really cool one for you guys to download and print if you can, which is the My Illustrator shortcuts. You might have remembered from last week's class that I kind of call out shortcuts all the time. Control Z, Command plus, Control plus, Command minus, option this, option that. I'll be reminding them to you all the time. But if you also want a little cheat sheet to have them next to you, the important ones, so that when you're on your own, you don't have me calling them out, then this is a good one to print. Of all the handouts I have when I teach in person, this is the only one that I hand out so people can have right next to them. Okay, the rest you can read from online or you can print them to read them depending on whatever you want. Most important handout in Illustrator is one that has the least handouts, in fact, of all my classes, but this is the one that really matters. Top left, you will always have the recording link. This is last week's class. At the end of tonight, I'll process the video, set up all the stuff. So maybe by tonight, the link is already working. For sure, by tomorrow morning, it'll be working. You'll click on here and you'll see today's recorded class, okay? And I won't be sending you these links on a personal level. This is up to you to come in here and click on them to see them. And just so you know, if you miss a class or if you leave early or have to leave in the middle for an appointment and come back, you're expected to watch that portion, because now that we have the inconvenience of Zoom, the luxury of Zoom is if we have recordings, then there's no reason for you not to know something we've taught because it's all there. The whole recording is there. But what's hard is that the recording is my entire class, 1:30 to 5:30, 5:15, right? So what the tip I gave you last week, and I just want to remind you because there's 4 new people, have a little notepad And then when I'm going through the class, suddenly you go, oh, here she explained how to download the files. Look at the time, and you go at 1:40 p.m. She explained how to download the files, or whatever else. She explained how to use the trace tool at 3 p.m. Write that down, because then you can go and extrapolate. If the recording is 3.5 hours long, 3 p.m. would be about, 1.5 hours in, and you just zoom to that place. If you want to just go review something that you missed, right? Or that you want to reread or re-listen to, or if you had to leave and come back. So that otherwise you have to sit through the 1:30 to 5:15 recording and scroll through to find what you want. And this might be a good way to get directly to what you're interested in hearing again, instead of having to sit through when I help people again with their files or stuff like that. Okay. So now, for those of you who let me just wait a second to say what I'm about to say. Once Sika connect, oh, there you go. So Sika's already connecting on two things. For Maria or Allison, Dorothy already knows this. If you have a second monitor or a second connected to your computer, that's fine, because you kind of see me on one and you work on the other. But if you don't have two monitors, then you might have an iPad or another computer or someone else's laptop in the house that's not in use right now. Then you might want to connect with two computers to the same Zoom class. One you watch me, so you need to have it connected to Zoom, and the other one you connect to Zoom anyway, because when you need help, I'm going to say share your screen. So you need to be connected to Zoom. You'll share your screen. I'll be able to help you, and then we'll stop your sharing and we'll continue with the class. The sharing screen is important. Again and again, people, I want you to remember that when I share someone's screen shares, everyone is learning from that, and everyone is then applying that. And many times I keep on teaching with someone who's sharing their screen being the one who continues handling that. So it's not like everyone takes off while someone is sharing, because I'm not helping one person. It's an issue that I'm helping that applies to everyone. Sometimes it's very specific to one person, in which case you might want to keep working on your own thing for a few minutes, but most of the times it's something that applies to everyone. So that second device has to be connected as well. Now, if you have a very slow connection and you're having an issue with having two Zooms connected and sharing your screen, then you might want to consider that on the one that you're working, if you learn how to quickly connect to Zoom on it, then you, whenever you say share your screen, then connect at that minute, share your screen, and then disconnect, because sometimes there's just too much for your system to handle two Zoom connections. That said, I learned this week that if you have a Mac and you have an iPad, your iPad can connect as a second monitor. And if anyone's interested in knowing that, I have a link telling you how to do that. And then that's one Zoom connection, but your iPad is where you watch me and the computer is where you do the work. So if that's you, look up, otherwise you can Google how to use your iPad as a sidecar. And I don't know if you can do it on a PC, but I do know that on a Mac, if you're using a Mac and you have an iPad, you can connect it and have it actually as a second monitor. So I have a handout for how to do that. I just discovered you could do that. Skylar. Sorry, my son's coming back from school. Last day of school, graduating high school and graduating junior high. Both my kids are graduating, one junior high and one high school, and they're both last day of school and they're coming back from school right now. So the dog's barking. I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to stop him, but this is the time they come home. A lot of events happening, lots of graduations next week. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and I'm gonna switch over to, and the dog's about to bark again. There he goes. I'm gonna switch to the screen where I already have the VDI set up. So VDI would be Joyce and Johnny at this point. Both of you guys know where you're at and you already know to reconnect to Google Drive. So that's good. I had it here to sample because in Photoshop, we just had an issue where two people couldn't connect. So I had left it in this in-between stage. So then let me sign up myself. This only applies to VDI, which is only two people who just lived through it in my other class. So we're fine. All right. So now comes the bridge question. What's bridge for? When you give me a different setting here. I'm going to clear your answers and I want to know who's a PC and who's a Mac person. So give me a raised hands for PC and a yes, green, yes for Mac. So raised hands for PC, yes for Mac. Okay. On the reactions, go and find it. The little emojis on top, little thumbs up and claps and stuff like that, they disappear in a few seconds. So the raised hand actually stays and the yeses and the no's stays. So usually those are the ones I choose for when I want to see the group. All right. So, and the ones who haven't answered, I kind of know. Hi, Faye. Thanks for joining us. All right. So those of you who are on a PC, you use the Windows Explorer to find your files in your computer, right? To see them. On a Mac, you use the Finder to find and see where your files are and stuff like that. Thing is that when you are in, I can only demo right now the PC. This would be an example of the Windows Explorer where you go find your files and whatnot. If you are on a Windows Explorer, which is what this is, or on a Finder, if you were to say double click on a file, the computer system, Windows or Mac, has to figure out what kind of file is this? What should I open? So if you double click on a docx, it knows that's a Word document and boom, it opens up Word. Or if you click on a PSD document, that's a Photoshop document, then your computer, boom, kicks up Photoshop to open up, right? But there's some formats it might not recognize or not know what to do with. So for example, if you click on a JPEG.jpg, which is photographs, Mac and Windows don't know what to do with it. So they open up like this little Windows Live Gallery Viewer thingy or something like that. And the Finder opens up Preview if you're on a Mac. So these files that are usable by many, many different kinds of systems or SVGs or EPSs, I'm starting to mention stuff that you might not even know what I'm talking about, but these are all files that can be opened by many programs. So Mac and Windows don't know what to do with them. Versus if you open Bridge, Bridge is the Adobe companion to all of the creative applications. It's the companion to, you know, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Dreamweaver, Premiere, you mention it. All of the file, audio files, you know, sound files, all of the files that belong as to any creative endeavor. Like if you create an Illustrator file, we're in the Illustrator class, so we're all going to do Illustrator. But even in Illustrator, you might be creating a flyer where you bring in a photo that you did worked in Photoshop, or you might, you know, need something else. If you're doing a web page, you might need a link or something like that. Anything that combines in a document. When you're in Bridge, Bridge knows exactly where to go and what to do because it is an Adobe program. And so basically it's kind of like a Finder or a file browser like Windows Explorer or a Finder, but it's the Adobe version of it. And with the advantage that it reads all of the file's metadata, which is very important to find out information about your file's metadata, especially, for example, in Photoshop when you really need to know the resolution of the file. It also knows how to place the files correctly into different documents. So you basically, you can create catalogs with like ratings, keywords to organize all your files. So it does a ton of stuff. If you're Photoshop people, it's also where all the camera raw material gets handled and from Photoshop is in Bridge. So if you don't know what camera raw is or all of that, that's okay. If you do know, you understand what I'm talking about. So Bridge is a multifaceted kind of program. The main way we're going to use it for Illustrator, in fact, is one of the classes where we need maybe less of its multiple abilities. So in this class, we're mainly going to be using it to find our files and open our files from it. But for anyone who's working in the world of the Creative Cloud, you should get accustomed to having it be kind of like the home program for all of these applications, right? And so by teaching you to use it this way, you begin to learn how to work in it. Now, you could be an Illustrator and just say file open and open a file. But from Illustrator, file open, you wouldn't really know so much of the metadata of the information of that file versus you can learn all of that inside of Bridge. So For the people who are in VDI, where we're going to find the files is under this PC and then go to open Google Drive. For those of you who are at home, you would have to find here if you have your files in your computer in your downloads folder. If you move them to your desktop, I hope you didn't, especially if you're on a Mac, you should never have things on your desktop, but that's just another aside because I teach you how to be efficient with your Mac. If you are on a Windows, who knows where you put them? You know where you downloaded them. Most of the times, if you just downloaded them and did nothing, then you would go to the downloads folder. So you would go to your this PC and then go find your downloads folder if you're at home, which would be this one. And when you open your downloads folder, then you would navigate to the folder called Illustrator class files. Now, for the people who are in VDI, we're going to go to Google Drive and we're going to go to shared drives. And then in the shared drives, find the Illustrator shared drive. So now we wait a minute for it to show up because we're accessing the remote computer. Here we go. And then the Illustrator class files, the ones that you at home downloaded, those of us on VDI, open them up from here. Okay.
Question.
Mhm.
What file you download? You download everything on the illustration class, or you
The
just
Illustrator
download a couple one?
Illustrator
Which one?
class Illustrator class files folder. So, oh, did I close it here?
The whole thing. Every
Just
file.
the class file. Hold on. Let me share the screen again because I want to make sure you get the right thing. Just this folder called Illustrator class files. When you get into Illustrator shared drive, there's a ton. Illustrator shared drive. I don't want you to download the shared drive because you have all of this stuff in there. Just this folder called Illustrator class files,
No,
which does have a lot of
illustration,
files in it. There's
right.
when you open it up, there's all these files in there. Yeah. Problem is that this whole session takes so long that if every day I have you guys download the files, we always take half an hour. So hopefully after this first 2 weeks, you've downloaded all the files. You have them always ready when you need to open. When the class is over, you can dump them all, right? And get rid of them. Illustrator class files, when they download, since it's many of them, they will come in a zipped mode. And you go to your downloads folder and you extract them in order to then be able to open them. So if you already download them, when you go to Bridge, let me share my screen again to my Bridge. When you go to Bridge, if you go find the Illustrator class drive folders and it doesn't open, it has like a little zip kind of icon on it, it's because you haven't yet extracted them and you have to do that at file level. So if you're getting that issue, stop me and I'll come and help you unbox, so to say, open up your files. Yes. What's that?
I have that issue where it's zipped.
Okay, so can you share your screen? And by the way, the easiest way to help people is to have you share screen so I know exactly where you are and I tell you what to do exactly, and it's much faster. So if you think, oh, sharing takes a long time, no, it's actually to speed things up. So everyone who's in class will end up sharing at some point. The first time you ever share, if you've never shared, I can walk you through it. So let me know if you've never shared, or if you have, then you know what to do. So have you ever shared your screen, Allison? Have you ever shared your screen?
I have. You were talking about earlier, I just need to have like a second Allison Zoom come in because I'm doing it on like different computers, like you said.
All right, so then tell me when you're ready. The other people who just downloaded the files would be Dorothy and Sika and Maria. Did you check and see if your files are zipped or are they ready to go on Bridge? Were you able to find them? Is anyone not finding their files on Bridge?
I think mine haven't completely downloaded yet. That's the only thing. It's like saying it's halfway. So it's not letting me open it yet.
Okay. As long as it's because it's downloading, that's fine. We need to keep waiting. But if it's because they're zipped, then I need to show you how to unzip them. Maria, how are you doing? Downloading them still?
Yeah, it's downloading right now.
Okay. So
I've downloaded mine. This is Dorothy. I've downloaded mine. They're in my downloads.
Okay.
I unzipped it, but I don't know
Okay.
how to find the
All right.
downloads file.
So why don't you share your screen and I'll help you find them. And then anyone who is in, she's on a Mac. You're on a Mac. Yeah, right, Dorothy. So anyone who's on a Mac will have to, her example, I'll show you her example. Okay. So, so over here on the left side, oh no, you're on a PC. You're not on a Mac. Okay. So see how they are still zipped? They say Illustrator, see how you have like a little zipper running up and down that thing, that folder. And you have them on your desktop. You don't have them on your downloads folder. So you can't unzip them. Maybe I've never tried to unzip them from Bridge. Can you right click and see if there's something that says extract from Bridge? I always extract. Let me see if there's something here.
Open with.
Yeah, that would be if you want to open the file. Yeah, since it can't extract them, it's having you open the Windows Explorer, which is what we need to do. So go open your Windows Explorer, which is what it's basically saying open with. Yeah. So go down to go to your Windows Explorer. Actually, do the open with Windows Explorer. That's a good idea. Okay, so now in the background, see how they opened up. Okay, so the Illustrator class files opened up. There they are. Those are the names. But on the top, you see that pink thing that says extract? Click on that extract. And then on the right side, you can say extract all. And then it tells you where to put them. So now you can put them wherever you want. If you want to keep them in the same place, they'll put them on your desktop. If that's where you want, that's fine. Then hit extract. If you want to put them somewhere else, you browse. So if you want to leave them there, then go down to the little button that says extract. Yeah.
But you don't recommend the desktop. You think that's a bad idea?
If you're on a Mac, the desktop gums up your computer having files on the desktop. Windows machines as well, but Windows people, I'm sorry if I sound biased against Windows when I do these explanations. I notice because I teach both Windows and Mac, but my personal computer is a Mac, I mean. But Windows computers are, most people use their desktop for everything. And so you're already accustomed to your computer not working efficiently, but it's much better at this point to put them on your documents folder. But some people don't know how to get to the files then if they're in their documents folder, in which case that, so if you put them here and you'll never find them, then that's not a good idea. So in this case, if you're going to put them here, then that's fine. You might want to make a folder, called Illustrator class files, and then put them in there. If you leave them on your desktop, if you're a Mac computer, if your computer starts getting all bogged down and you have stuff all over your desktop, then that's because your computer's needs the desktop space to process, and it's becoming slower and slower just because you're left stuff hovering on the desktop. All right, so it looks like they've extracted, right? Yeah, they're in your documents folder, so you're set. So now go back to Bridge. And now on the left side, go to your documents folder instead of desktop, like on the left, go into the left. Yeah, and there you go, Illustrator class files, double click, and you're there, you're set. So you're ready to go. Anyone else who needs help finding them or extracting them or?
Yep. This is Dorothy, I do.
Yeah.
I can't find my downloads file.
All right, so share your screen.
I'm not sure if I'm going to share the right
All
one.
right.
Okay.
Just share your general desktop, because for this we need the whole. Okay, so Illustrator class. I think these are your class files from last time.
Right.
So go up to scroll up and let's see. This is your desktop. Where would you have download? Go to your downloads folder. So go up to the very top where you see computer users Dorothy. Click on Dorothy.
Exactly.
And then go look for scroll down here to find your downloads folder. So this is what would happen if you're on a Mac. Scroll down to find your keep scrolling until you see the word downloads. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Look at, there it is. No, it's not there yet. Keep going. We need to find it. By the way, this is she has her icon so big that there's a lot of scrolling down to do. You can also minimize this. There it is, downloads, double click on that one. Double click. Double click.
Yeah, I am,
I heard only one click. I heard only one. Go for it again.
really. How about 5? I just did 5 of them.
I think that they're being separate clicks instead of a quick double click. Either way, right click and say open otherwise. Yeah. This is a link
It's
to your
locked.
folder. It's not, so this is, oh, you have them. Why would you have them locked? Oh, at some point Bridge asked you for access to your files and you said no. That's what's happening. And you
Oh.
need to change the permissions. Yeah. So here, let's do this. I'm requesting remote control so that we can do this faster. Can you say yes to the remote control request? And then leave your mouse lying fallow and I will work on your computer for a minute. Oh, but you didn't share the entire desktop. You shared only this. Can you please change your share? Go up to where it says new share at the top and choose to share your entire desktop. So go up to where you see that it says that you are
Here's
sharing.
this, new share. Okay.
Click on the word new share and now show your entire desktop because I need to open your Finder to fix this.
Okay, now what?
Okay, now choose the main desktop, like the whole desktop, and then share again.
Hmm.
Because now you're sharing only Bridge and I need to get to your Finder. So did you click on new share?
I did.
Okay, now look at all your windows and usually the top leftmost is your entire
It's
desktop.
Not showing all the windows. Oh, there it is. Like I do it twice. Okay,
Yeah.
which one do you
And
want?
then, and the biggest, the main desktop that shows shows me the whole desktop. So usually it's the top left choice.
Oh,
This is the one that I can't see. So this is you on your own. I'm walking you through in the air. You need to find the one. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let go of your mouse. All right. So by the way, let me open your Finder. Can you pull up your doc so I can open the Finder window? Thank you, because I can't do that. Okay, so now your files are in your documents and your downloads. Where do you have your downloads? Where are your downloads? Here we go. Yeah,
they might be in.
it's okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just needing to click. You have so many. There
in
we
the
go.
cloud.
It's like you have, this is a weird situation where you have your downloads, you have we've talked before. So here they are, your class files. I'm going to drag them into your documents folder, which you happen to have in, oh, this is going to take a while because you have them in you have them on the cloud. So they're going to take a while to zoom up. Let me move them from your Dropbox. Oh, why were they in your is your downloads folder is in your Dropbox?
I didn't think so.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so I'm gonna go out of the Dropbox, but that's a bit of a mess. Okay, so they're heading, I know, I'm like, you have, so here they are, but they're copying up into the cloud, so they'll take a while to get to them. But now in Bridge, sorry guys, now I'm gonna take you, instead of there, to the desktop, I'm gonna take you to your documents. And I could tell it was going to be, so here you're seeing such big icons that it's hard. So here's your documents folder and you will find the folders in here. It's just that they're beginning to copy up. And so where's your Illustrator? Sorry guys, this is ABCD. Copied them. You have so much stuff. Here, Illustrator class files. Okay, I'm reaching out to them, but the problem is that they're still not copied. But, Yeah, this is a bit of a mess. Sorry, guys, doing my. Anyway, she has her stuff kind of not on her computer, but on Dropbox, and in this case on her iCloud. So here are the files you need. There you go. So are these the ones that I have? Are these the old versions or what I have now?
That's an old file from before.
Yeah, this is your Illustrator class files from before. Oh, well, for now, the whole point is I try to give you new ones, but the other ones aren't copying in yet. These are from the last time you took the class. Some of them overlap, and what I can do is try to find the overlapping ones. Let me go back to your folder here. Sorry, guys. Is everyone else meanwhile? So these are the right ones. These are the right ones, and they are in your Illustrator class files folder, which is in your documents on the cloud. And those are the new ones, I know, because of the first one that's there. So we need to be able to find this Illustrator class files. Let me change the file name to new. And I'm going to just, we're going to be called new so that I can make sure that these are the ones that we find and not these other ones. So, now you have my Photoshop files. You have so many of my, okay, I need to keep going with the class. This is a bit crazy. I don't normally
Well,
spend this much time. It's just that you have like 85 you have like all these different archives where these things are dropping into, and it's becoming almost impossible to reach them. So here we go. Just go from there. And no. Oh, the ones I called new were the old ones. It's the other way around. I don't know how to reach your files. They're not on your hard drive. They're on your
Cloud,
here they are.
but that's the old one.
I give up.
Are they in
Dorothy.
the process? Are they in the process of downloading? You know, I did unzip them.
Okay, I'm gonna, last thing, I'm gonna go back here. They're probably in the process of uploading, because the new ones that you see there, I call them new, and I can see that this is the new ones, right? I can see that these are the new ones. And yet, when I go over here, the ones called new are the ones that look like the old ones. So they're probably still uploading right now. Okay, so that's probably what's happening. And so we're just gonna have to wait for them to upload, because there's no other option. So let me take you back to that place, which was your hard drive. And that's your external. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I don't normally send this. This is very frustrating. I can't, I normally wouldn't have spent this much time, but I thought that it would be easy, but I forgot. I've been in your computer once, and I think I got dizzy at that point as well. So
Busy or busy?
I'm looking now again for the documents to just leave you in your old file, in the ones that are called new. So scroll here until you find the one called new.
Was at the bottom.
Yeah, I'll let you from here find the ones that are the new and open those and use those. All right. Sorry, guys. It always seems like there's something starting that's gonna create a bit of a.
Very sorry.
That's all right. So meanwhile, by now, everyone else should be totally on top of things and have their files ready to go. Let me share my screen. Maria, how are you doing? You okay? Working on your downloads and stuff and having the files?
Yeah, I able to do it. Thank you.
Okay, and Sika, you have them too?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, here we go. These are the files that we need to find, and I will not go down the rabbit hole like I just did again. I was just thought in just a minute I could help. So, I want everyone to go find this little file here called Drawing Shapes and Robot, which I believe is one, Dorothy, that you would have from the past. I didn't use it in the intervening months, but I think I used it in the fall when you took the class. So you might have it in your old files, which is why I'm choosing that one to start with. You do have it. Good. Okay. Let's, before we continue, let me show you a little bit about Bridge, which is, here I have a variety of different kinds of files, not too much of a variety, but you see that I have this one called Drawing Shapes Robot.ai. That's an Adobe Illustrator file. This one on the left side is .jpeg, which would be an image that is raster based, which is the kind of image that you would either work on in Photoshop. It's an illustration, or it's a photo, it's a scan, or something like that, but it's not created on a computer. It's something that was either scanned in as an image or taken as a picture. That would be usually a JPEG. A bit of a stereotype here because there's other kind of thing that could be a JPEG. Then you can see over here a TIFF file, okay, .tif. So here on the right side of Bridge, I'm gonna put the spotlight on. Spotlight is a little light on my mouse so that you can see my mouse a little bit better. Here, when every time you click on one of these files on the right side, you find out a lot about these files and the metadata. And for example, if you click on this JPEG, you find out how big, how much information, the TIFF, that kind of stuff to see. So when we start linking files and bringing in files, Bridge becomes really helpful. Right now, let's just double click on this Drawing Shapes Robot. Since Adobe knows that AI is an Illustrator file, it will kick Illustrator to open up. My Illustrator was already open, so it's probably a bit faster. If you didn't have Illustrator open yet, it's probably taking a little bit longer to open up. I'm gonna make the window a little bit smaller. I know you guys might need it. While that's opening up, I'm gonna head back to Bridge for a second to show you a few more things about Bridge, and also because I know Illustrator takes a little bit of time to open up. Notice that these previews that I'm seeing are of a certain size and shape, and you might be seeing them bigger or smaller. This little kind of triangle slider, you can either go minus, minus, minus to make them all smaller and just see a lot of them in, small little icons, just enough to recognize them and open them. Or like Dorothy had those big folders. If you go plus, 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 they become really big. And then you have to kind of scroll down to see a lot of files. So since Bridge is just to find files, usually having them smaller is good enough. The idea is just to be able to find them, see what's necessary. And if you want to see it bigger, to see what's in there because it's too small, you hit the space bar and that kind of becomes bigger on your screen, eliminates everything else. You go, oh yeah, it's what I need. And you hit the space bar again and it goes down. You hit this one, space bar. Oh yeah, it's fine. And you hit the space bar. So it's fine to have them be smaller so that it's easier to kind of capture at a glance everything that's in a folder. All right. So is Illustrator open for everyone by now? I'm going to clean your feedback, clear your feedback. There we go. So that if I ask you questions now, I'll get to see you again. One thing I forgot to ask you to do is when you sign into class, please go to the chat and give a little sign in saying, hi, checking in, I'm here, or whatever you want to say. So that's part of your attendance. Okay. And so head now to the chat and give me a little hello if you haven't yet signed in. I jumped in with helping people get to the files and I forgot to remind you of that. Okay, and then when you're in the Illustrator program, then one thing you'll notice is that to move things around like I'm doing right now, or to be able to move things bigger, the best shortcut one of the best shortcuts you have is hold down your space bar and you get a little hand in your mouse and then you can move things around. Now, right now, who cares if it's to the left or to the right? But say that you're zoomed in, which we're gonna need to do a lot. So say you need to zoom into this fine. So if you're on a Mac, hold down your Command key. If you're on a PC, hold down your Control key. and then hit the plus, 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 and that's how you zoom into things, and minus, 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 and you zoom out. So the whole time holding down either the control or the command key, okay? So you zoom in or you zoom out. So when you're zoomed into stuff, right, now you kind of want to see something that you don't see, then this is a good time to hold down on that space bar and scooch, click and drag, scooch your way over so that you can see one portion of the other. So you might want to work on this antenna, or you might work on that one. So that's holding the space bar to scooch around. Okay. So everyone try that out. Make sure you know, because we need to be nimble around our file. And then when you want to just kind of fill your screen again to see everything, controller command 0, and then you see the entire file again. I usually hit a minus one more time so I see some gray around, and that gives me the view of everything. Okay, so usually you're going to be going command if you're in a Mac, control if you're on a PC, control plus, control minus, control 0. We use those a lot, and space for the and then the space bar held down to scooch around or pan around is what it's called. Now, if you want to zoom into a particular thing, say you just click on the most icon is your move or black selection icon. This one is the tool that we're going to be in all the time. It's our home tool. Those of you guys who have taken any of the other Adobe classes, you know that you can be clicking on any other tool here. So watch what's going to happen. I've got the eyedropper tool selected right now. No matter what tool I have selected, I'm going to want to always return to that one on top, that move tool. So whatever it is that I'm doing to return to that one, which is a constant thing we do, hit the V on your keyboard, the letter V, and boom, you're back up there. So that's a really quick way to get back up there, and we constantly want to get back up there. There's another shortcut to get back up there that I'll show you when we're in the midst of working with other tools, but I'm going to wait until we have a tool in hand to show you the other shortcut. But you want to live in this one because everything else does something, and it can do something that you don't want, versus that one just kind of moves. So with that tool selected, click on anything. And now notice, and when I say click on anything, just select something and you'll see the little bounding box appears around. So like this little blue box appears, whatever you select. And now when you say command or control plus, 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 know that it zooms straight into that thing that you had selected. So it's a quick way to get in to that precise thing. Like if you wanted the eyeballs, and then command 0, you're out again. And then this time you click on this thing and then you control plus, 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 and it zooms into that thing. You see what I mean? It's kind of like a quick way to know how to get around. And then control 0 again to go back down. So practice that a little bit. Yes.
I have a question. I am able to download the thing. I saw it on my screen, but I cannot open on the side. It's the picture coming to the side on the right side, and it's not unable to open it.
Okay, so are you able to share your screen? Is your computer connected to Zoom?
Okay, let's see how I can do it. Okay.
So you need to say yes because I have to stop sharing. I didn't want to stop sharing until you confirm that you could share.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have the same computer here. I don't know if I'm able to do that.
Okay, but is the computer you're using Illustrator on connected to Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, so go down to the big green button that says share screen on your Zoom.
Okay.
And then on the right side, a window appears that has little boxes. On the right side, you have another button that says share that's blue with little white letters that says share. Click on that one again.
Share screen. Okay.
First, the big green share screen.
Okay.
And then another button on the bottom right side appears that's a blue with white letters that says share. You need to click that second one. Are you on a PC or on a Mac?
The laptop.
Okay, well, but still, because if it's a Mac laptop or a PC laptop, it makes a difference.
Here,
Okay.
this is my screen here. And
Okay.
this image. Is
Oh, good point. I see what you mean. So yeah, this is just a preview of the file. This is not where you open from. You open from the actual file. So the little one that here to the right. Yeah, that one, double click right there.
I double click it and then it keeps saying that.
Do you want to open? Oh, so you don't have Illustrator installed probably.
I did install it. That's why I'm able to put I saw the bridge here.
Okay, so then let's go open and always use this app. So unclick that, take that check marks off because it's getting confused. You don't want Microsoft. Okay, so go to more apps and see if it finds it. Illustrator, it's not finding it. Okay. So you might need to go to type here to search on the bottom left and see if it finds Illustrator, because right now it's not finding Illustrator. Type here to search and click Illustrator. No, your application is not installed. It's only finding, okay, go up at the top where it says all, the very top, click on apps to see if it finds your Illustrator app. It's not finding it, so you need to install it still. Bridge is installed, but Illustrator is not installed. So you need to go back to your Creative Cloud. See on the, yeah, right there next to your weight, next to 63 Fahrenheit, there's another little icon. Go down with your mouse, down, down, down. No, not there at all. Down to the taskbar, where it says the weather for today, a sunny cloud, down, way down. You might have Zoom in front of it. Ignore this. Don't do anything with this. Go down there. Yeah. Now one to the right, that's your cloud icon. One to the right. No, not the, I don't want the weather. Yeah, that one. Click now. Click on that one. That's your cloud.
Oh, maybe
Creative
I
Cloud.
have to shut down the computer before it's active.
No, click it. You have it kind of zoom. You have it down there. You kind of have it hiding. No, right. You've hidden it outside. Click on that again. Click.
Yeah.
And see that white bar that's going to appear. Put your mouse on it and click and drag. You've kind of pushed it out of the way. Down. No. It's there. It's opening, but you have a little white bar. Give me remote control access. I will never do something for you on Illustrator, just so you know. But for these kind of things where I need to get the computer working. So here, you kind of hit it. See over there, you kind of pushed it down and you were hiding and it was hiding there behind your top. Okay, so you only installed Bridge and Camera Raw, so you still need to go find Illustrator and install Illustrator. So there. So somehow it's not letting you. It says bye.
Bye already.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's assuming that Illustrator needs to be bought. Do you have to then put in, what were the instructions? See, this, I can't go through the instructions of how to install yet, whatever your email said to do. Is how you need to install these. You guys who did this?
Did you buy it through College Buys?
Yeah.
I did buy it and I don't know what is still, and it allowed me, to give me the download link. So that's why I'm able to download that.
Okay. I can't help you install this right now. I don't
Okay.
know what the instructions are because right now,
That's
what most
okay.
you can do, no, but you know what? Do try. Use it for right now because they'll give you 7 days trial and then figure out how to do it correctly. So the try will let you install it for 7 days, which is probably what happened with Bridge. It's there and it's working right now and it's installing. Okay, so when it's done installing, when you double click on that, it'll open. So when this says done, go back to Bridge, double click on that icon, and meanwhile, just watch the class, okay? And then
Thank
after
you.
class is over, go find out what's happening because right now you're downloading just a 7-day trial.
Thank
All right,
you.
you're
All right.
welcome. Okay, so back to the little robots.
Deanna,
Little
could you
robot.
repeat how you got the dots and focused on the single one? I did it, but I don't remember how I did it.
How I what on a single one?
How you focused on the single icon or?
Oh, I went ahead and just select something. So I'm going to select his arm right there, his little left hand, and then I'll go Control plus 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 or Command plus plus plus, which is to zoom in. But this time it zooms in to whatever is selected versus willy-nilly into the middle of the page. So you just select whatever you want to go to, and then you can hold down the space bar to then go to the left side of the arm or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Was that your question? Yeah. And then we zoom out again by doing Command 0 to walk our way out. Okay, so now last week we learned a lot about basic shapes, and with a set of basic shapes, we built lots of other stuff, and some of you guys sent me some fun stuff. So by the way, especially for those who are new to class, when class is over, as class goes by, you need to do screenshots, not of my screen, but of your work. And then at the end of the day, when class is over, you need to email me just one, 2 to 3, depending on the projects we did, screenshots of the work that you did during the day. Okay. And if you have anything you do during the week, you can screenshot, email me that as well. So I got some really fun little emails of little creatures you created with all the shapes we did. Yeah, Maria, you're raising your hand.
When you say screenshot, it means that you take your phone and you shoot the on the camera, or do you have a way to do it?
Here's the thing. Here's the
somehow? I
thing.
don't know.
You can do it on the computer. I believe, was this class that I taught you all how to do it at the end of the class? Or did I taught it so many times this week? So watch the recording of last week's class, and at the end, I taught people how to do recordings. Or grab your phone and take a screen photograph. Like, just grab your phone and photograph it and email it to me. It doesn't need to be perfect. If not, I can email me, and I'll send you a link to a recording of how to take a screenshot. I don't want to spend time doing that again. But just a photograph of the screen is good enough. I don't need the high quality. I just need to see what you guys are doing on your side. Okay. But an email to remind me also works, because then I can send you a link to how to do a screenshot. Tell me if you're on a Mac or on a PC, because it's different. All right.
Diana, it didn't work. I couldn't get rid of the blue dots around the selected item.
Okay, you don't get rid of them, and you select something, and then you select something else, and then you select something else, and then you select something else. So I didn't tell you to deselect anything, which to deselect, you just select something neutral like this background. That's how you deselect. Rather, I was just showing that when you select, then when you zoom in, it takes you to that little place. That's all I was showing you, but I haven't yet mentioned how to deselect, and how you deselect is just select something else becomes selected, or some neutral area here in the background is a good way to deselect, because you clicked on something that doesn't activate anything else. Okay, you can usually have only one.
Plastic and keep it warm for like a day.
Bonnie, I'm gonna mute you, Bonnie, because there's stuff in your background. Can you please mute? There we go. All right. So guys, let's go ahead and select one of these shapes. And then notice that when you select the next shape, the first one drops. Okay, so this is all kind of quick review of last week's class. What if I wanted both to stay selected? Because only one at a time stays selected. Then who remembers how to select more than one of these guys?
Shift key.
Hold down the shift key and then select the other. And now they all stay selected. And then with the shift key still held down, select the other one. And now you have 3 things selected. Notice that when you select one thing, you have one bounding box for each object. But the moment you select 2 things, you still have one bounding box that moves all objects. And then if you hold down the shift and click one more, again, one bounding box. So there's always one bounding box. The bounding box is kind of like a basket that holds your objects. That's all it really is. It's only other function when you select a shape with the bounding box is to mess around and distort. So here's the deal. I want us to play around a little bit with that. I want you to select this one, hold shift, select the triangle, hold shift, and select this little grouping. We'll learn about groups in a minute. And then I want you guys to copy this. And if you like shortcuts, it's copy, it's Command or Control C, or go to Edit and Copy. Okay, so go ahead and say Edit and Copy. Those of us on VDI might need to say okay to this. This is a VDI thing. So copy this. Now click away. I don't want this to be affected yet with what we're going to do next. And now let's do File New. And we're just going to go ahead and remember we spent some time creating new files from here last week. So anyone who missed the first class, please, I did a lot of how you set up a file last week. So please watch the first day's video. But right now we're going to say okay to the defaults that pop up. Just create hit the create at the bottom and that's it. Which in my case is going to show up with a window that's because last week we created one that was landscape. Anyone who was not here last week, probably you got a letter that's, you know, top to bottom. Portrait, it doesn't matter. This is just a place for us to paste the images that we just created in. Okay, so create whatever gets created, just create it and then say edit, paste, or command and control V. We're going to bring these three shapes in here. All right, if anyone needs help with this portion or didn't get this done or needs help getting it done, please let me know. And when I say this is the time to say, hey, help me, because when I move on, then I've left you behind 10 steps. So this is the time to say, oh, I still didn't get my copy or it didn't work for me. This is the perfect time to say that. And if it worked, then, yep.
I got it, but I can't remember how you get to the icon that changes, rotates from portrait to landscape.
It doesn't matter. If you got portrait or landscape, it really does not matter.
Okay.
So just paste these guys in.
Come on.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you that we have two files now. Up here, Drawing Shapes Robot. Over here, Untitled, the one we just created. Okay, so we can go back and forth from the two files that we just created. Let's go back to the one that created. What color are these elements, these objects that we just copied?
White.
They were white. When we put them in here, they look like they don't exist. In fact, if I now click away, it's as if they're not there. But it's just because I put white objects on top of white paper. But notice that if you hover kind of and try to click and drag and you grab, there they are. Something is there. If you happen to cross the path of what's there, you actually are seeing them. It's just that it's a white object sitting on white paper. So what we need to do is we need to select them and change their color so we can start seeing them. So a good way to select them now is to do a Command or Control A, which means select all. So if you're on a PC or on a Mac on VDI, it would be Control A. If you are on a Mac, it would be Command A. And that's how you select all of the stuff you can't see, right? Because it was white on white. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of these guys. So I'm going to head over to the right, over here, to the fill. And I'm going to click on fill. And I'm going to choose one of these swatches. And I'm going to give it an obnoxious pink to finally see them. Okay. That's why I'm not going with yellow or anything that's calmer for our eyes, because I usually try to have colors that are really bright so everyone can really see my examples. You can choose colors that calm your senses more than mine. But anyway, I have found that when I use pastel-y colors, people have a harder time seeing them. So here we go. Now we have our three shapes that we filled with a color. Before they were there, but they were filled with a color that didn't make us see them. When we have them selected, we can see all of their appearance attributes, they're called, that they have a fill, they have no stroke, they are 100% opacity, meaning they are solid. Okay. Stroke, what's the other word for stroke that we were using last week? A stroke is the same as an
Border.
border, an outline or a border. Okay, so these have no stroke. See how there's a line drawn across them? You have no stroke. How about we click away to deselect them? And now another way to select all three, I told you guys to do click, shift, click, but another quick way to select all three is to put your mouse somewhere kind of at the top left, click and drag, and you create what I call like a little casting net where you can click and drag, and that way you select them all. So you can click and drag and grab one, or click and drag and grab two. Now, the interesting thing is you don't need to cast a net around the whole object. As long as you cast a net, just touching a little bit of it, that's enough to get it selected. So if I wanted to select all these three, I could just do a little thing like this, where I'm barely touching a little tidbit of each one of these. And when I let go, all of it gets selected. Okay, so practice that. That usually is an easier way to select big chunks of stuff than to have to be doing click, shift, click, when you can just kind of do like that. All right, does that make sense? Now, if you were to want to do only the top and the bottom, in this case, it doesn't work easily because that guy's in the middle. So that's harder to do. So that's an example of you might want to go click and then just shift and click on the bottom. And even though this seems to be caught, in reality, it's not. It would just happen to be in the way of the bounding box. So when you select one, shift and select the bottom, since that happens to be underneath, the bounding box is trying to catch the top and bottom one, but test it out and you'll see that the bottom one, the middle one, was not caught in that net. It's just that it happened to be underneath that. Okay, now I'm going to return it to its original spot by doing Control or Command Z. I'm kind of working a little bit fast through all of this because 90% of what I'm doing right now is review of last week, just to kind of help us trundle back into shape, review, and help people who only maybe watch the video catch up to the basics before we keep moving forward. But if I'm leaving you behind with something that truly is not working, please stop me and ask me for help. Okay, especially all the people who are new. If what I'm showing you is just not happening, please stop me and ask me. And even, I mean, people who are not new too, but those of you who watch us with you. Now in the future, when you guys miss a class or miss a portion of the class, please not only watch the video, but do it as well. Like watch the video while you do it so that you actually have the practice on hand of the whatever material that we did that week.
Deanna,
Yes.
I undid twice and so my items disappeared. So
All right.
what?
So then one option is to go up to edit and say redo for them to appear again if you undid one too many, which is Shift Control Z, and then they might come back. Sometimes they don't if you've broken the pattern, but usually if you ask me immediately, then a Shift Control Z versus your Shift Z might bring them back. If it doesn't work, then they're still in your copy. They're still in your memory. So you can just paste again. They'll show up again. They'll be white again. And then just change their color again. Does that make sense? Because when you copy some, what's
Got
that?
the bounding box around it. Is that what it's supposed to have?
When you first paste them, they would have a bounding box around them, yeah.
Okay, and then I could fill.
And then just fill them with whatever color you want or need. All right, so just to practice what's a stroke, let's go give it a stroke. And so from none, that is the choice right now, go give it a color, and I'm going to give it a bright green stroke. And this is only a 1-point stroke, which is very tiny, so it's hard to see. So just for showfulness sake, I'm going to click on this little arrow, or you can click on this one and push down. I'm going to give it a big stroke just so that you guys can really see it from afar. And there we go. Now this is a stroked set of icons. You might notice though, that down here where we had a really tiny thin tip, that the stroke is so fast that it kind of ate into the shape. See over here where we had a shape that ended up in a thin little tip pointing to a 0. The stroke encompasses both sides of the outline. So I'm going to zoom in to this so we can actually see. So I'm going to select this little icon down at the bottom, Control plus plus plus, so that I can zoom into it. So now everyone go ahead and do that. Zoom into the bottom little stack of objects. And this is a combination. Like last week, we combined many different primitive shapes to create a new object. If anyone from last week didn't send me screenshots yet, please remember to do that. And when you hover, now if you've selected it already, you'll see a bounding box, right? If you don't select it, then when you hover over it and path an area that has a path, you see how this path kind of wakes up and shows itself. I'm not clicking now. I'm just kind of hovering. And this is when it's not selected. When it is selected, meaning I see the bounding box, then I actually see that path all the time. Okay. But even if I don't, just hovering over it kind of lights up the paths that I'm touching. Now let's select the shape. And this line that's right here that's blue, which is why I chose, if you have a blue stroke, that would be the hardest one to see the stroke. So if you have a blue stroke, you might not see this path. So you might want to change your stroke color to green or yellow or something. Blue is the only one where it's harder to see that line, right? So, so change that color. And then what this here is, does anyone who was here in class last week, do you remember what the name of this line here is?
Path?
That's the path. In fact, see when I put my mouse over it, it says path right there. And then how about the little corners? Every time there's a little corner, there's another word here that's popping up, which is the word
Anchor?
anchor. Okay. So those are the two most important words. The path and the anchor are the two things that create our shapes. In fact, if I grab this same shape, which I have, grab meaning select, so please select it if you haven't yet. If I were to now take the stroke here and say no stroke again, right? The path is still there. It just happens to be that it's a shape with no stroke. If I were to now grab the fill and say no fill, now it's a shape with no fill and no stroke, but it's still, the shape exists, okay? So this is a shape that has no appearance, basically. And to all intents and purposes, once I click away, it seems like it's totally gone. It's not even a solid white fill. It is completely gone. But if I hover with my hand here and there, you'll see that it's still there, right? So now hover until it kind of lights up again and click on it again. And now let's give it again a fill so that we can actually see it again. Okay, so now I've inverted, I'm filling it with green, and I'm gonna give it a pink, I'm gonna go the opposite, give it a pink stroke. And so the first stroke that usually comes on is only a 1-point stroke, which is a thin stroke. I'm gonna purposely make it big again because I wanna show you something. Oh, see, blue and pink, they don't read well. This isn't gonna work. Let me
Deanna, I
find a
forgot how
different-
to select again.
Okay, just click on it. You have to have your V or selection tool selected, right? Like the top blue one, and then just click,
Okay.
and then it works. Now, if you're only seeing the path and you click on them, so watch, there's something about what I said that matters. If you have no fill, right? And you click in the middle, there's literally nothing there. It's like a donut. You're trying to grab it from the center, right? So you need to click on the path. But if the shape does have a fill of some kind, then you can actually click on the middle to select it as well. You just need to click on something that's solid. Someone turned on their sound on their second computer, and I'm having a reverb of my voice. So if you have two computers on or sound, please turn your second sound off, please. All right. So now this shape here is the stroke is what I wanted to show you. See how the stroke goes to both sides of my path? So this stroke is a 6-point stroke. And you guys, the most you know about strokes, about points usually has to do with when you write, you know, Times New Roman 12 points or something like that. That's the size of the font size, right? So strokes are measured in points as well, which is a size. And 6 points, what the stroke does is it applies itself 3 strokes, 3 points one way and 3 points the other way. So it divides itself. So if you make a very big fat stroke on a shape that was pretty thin, like this one was, then you're beginning to eat into its shape. So you could change the position of that stroke if you wanted to be entirely outside or entirely inside. So remember last week we ended it up where I was showing you some fun little strokes that were made out of dots or lines or arrows or stuff like that. So now I'm going to show you one more thing about the stroke, which is make sure everything has a stroke. Head over here to the word stroke, click on that. And because it has these little dots underneath, that means that there's more under this word. There's no little line under fill, so nothing happens there. But under stroke, if I click the word stroke, I get more choices. Is everyone with me? Mm-hmm. Click on this little word. Make sure I haven't left you behind. All right, so then notice that I get to choose over here if I want my stroke to be aligned, normal, which would be stroke in the center, or I would want my stroke to go inside. And now all 6 points of it went to the inside, and look at how it kind of diminished the inside shapes. Or if I want my stroke to be on the outside of the path, see that? So now my original shape is intact, but it become kind of fatter and bigger because of this big white stroke. All right. So you choose but by default, if you make no other choice, 99% of strokes that don't get a different choke always show up with half of them one way or the other of the path that creates the shape of your object. Now, for the most part, we're going to leave it at the center point as the default because that's where it just goes. But I wanted to show you how that really alters the shape when you do have a stroke. Now, let's go ahead and get rid of the stroke for this object because I just want to end up with the shape and nothing else. So back to stroke and choose none. All right. How are we doing there?
Good.
When I do the little check-in, this is honesty time. Tell me if you need help to catch up. Other than that, I've scrolled out or zoomed out with Control or Command Z. I still have the original stroke and fill on these other two, but this one I ended up with no stroke. I also happened to change the color. It's okay if you did or didn't change the color. Now notice that these are single shapes. And this, on the other hand, has 1, 2, well, right now it just looks like 2 shapes. But in reality, I happen to know that this one was made out of 1, 2, and 3. It was made out of 3 different shapes and it turned into one shape. All right. But originally it was a rectangle, a little triangle, and a circle that got joined into this shape. So last week we combined different sized shapes to make a drawing, but we haven't yet done this thing where we place different shapes together to make different drawings, but we didn't yet combine them like in this case. Okay, so I want us to learn how to combine this, how to make this out of these individual bits and pieces. All right, so let's grab all of these and let's drag into one side of the page so that they stay there as kind of the basic stuff that we brought over. And again, some of you have a different shaped page, doesn't matter. And now, by the way, I'm saying page, I was teaching design techniques, and in that class in design, this is a page. And in Illustrator, this is it's an artboard. In Photoshop, it's a canvas. In Illustrator, it's an artboard. And in design, it's a page. My brain is getting all. So this is an artboard. And remember last week we played around with artboards a bit? Not much, but we created some new artboards. We didn't change the shapes of artboards yet, did we? In this class? No. We just added some new artboards. Okay, so we have a one artboard page document right now in one or another position, depending if you had from last week, then by default it would give you ours because we changed it. If this is the first time you make one, you probably ended up with a tall one. All right, so I'm going to do a couple more things and then we're going to take a break. First of all, let's make our own shape instead of having the pre-made ones. So remember, this is what we did together last week. Click on this rectangle tool. And depending if you've already done this last week, you might not see a rectangle here. You would see whatever's the last shape you drew. Because right now, it would seem that all I can do is draw a rectangle. But if I click and hold my mouse down, I really could draw a rectangle or an ellipse or a polygon or a star or a line. All of these are options. And if the last thing you draw was a polygon, then when you go to this tool, you don't see rectangle, you see polygon. Okay, so one shape or another, you would see down here. So let's go ahead and click here and choose a rectangle. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to replicate one of these shapes. So I'm going to try to replicate this shape. So for that, the first thing I need to do is I need to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to click and drag, and we're going to make it bigger, the same shape, but in big. And we're going to draw a rectangle. Now, since the last thing I selected was one of these shapes, my new rectangle inherited the attributes of the last shape that I touched. And the last shape that I touched was one of these. if the last shape I had touched was one of those, then it would have turned out to be that bright green with no stroke, okay? Because whatever was there is again. While it's selected, let's go change that to some third option. I'm going to make this one blue and I'm going to make it with no stroke. Let's keep the stroke out of this one. So now I've made a rectangle with no stroke. Now here's the thing. What tool is in my hand right now?
The A tool. Select.
Nope. Look at my screen and see
Oh,
what
the
tool I have.
rectangle. Rectangle.
The
tool.
rectangle tool. This is so important, you guys. This is the place where most people, when they first stumble into Illustrator, this is where you get kind of lost. Because when you choose one of these tools to make something, my tool is still in make rectangle mode. So now if I try to move things around or select something else, all I'm going to end up doing is making more rectangles because my mouse is in make rectangle mode. So I'm going to make bazillions of rectangles, right? That's all I have. I have a make rectangle tool, right? So in order to not make more rectangles, you need to switch to a different tool. And that's what I meant by the safe tool to switch to always is which is the safe tool, the home tool that I told you to switch to. Come now, which is the tool I told you earlier? Everyone speak up. Come on, guys.
Is that the V?
The V,
The V
which is
tool.
the V, which is the black arrow at the top left, which is called which is the selection tool. So hit the V. There you go. Now you can select and get rid by selecting and hitting the delete key any extra rectangle you might have made, because in years of teaching this kind of stuff, I know that by now there's like 55 little rectangles or stuff hanging out there that you didn't intend to make. And if you didn't, then it's because you were just waiting for me to talk instead of practicing. And I always recommend practicing, doing more than I say. So let's go back to the rectangle tool. Now you know that once you have a rectangle tool in your hand, all you're going to make more rectangle tools, but we want another rectangle because the base of that's going to be another rectangle. Okay, so let's make another rectangle. And it's going to be a little bit smaller. We're just eyeballing it. We're going to make another rectangle kind of somewhere over there, right? So we made another rectangle. Now, since you might have or not eyeballed it correctly, it might be a little bit offset. It might be a bit to the right. That's okay. You can actually set it in the right place in a couple of different ways. One of them is to use these pink smart guides that begin to appear. Notice I have one already. This one's supposed to be it smaller and a bit higher up. When I try to place it in the right place, the smart guides are these pink lines that are trying to help me. Here's telling me, oh, look, you're in the same distance between one shape than another. As I keep moving and saying, oh, you're intersecting with the center. When I go over here, it goes, oh, look, now you're actually intersecting with the center in the same distance. And that's like, oh, cool. Now I let go. When you let go, those green smart guide, pink smart guides disappear. So if I move it over there, I'm not aligned with the bottom shape. But if I wait until my smart guides kind of tell me that I'm aligned center to center, then that's kind of a better way to go. Now I know that I'm intersecting in the center. Okay. Now the smart guides are a little bit hard to get accustomed to sometimes, but still, I'm going to move them down a little bit so that we can work on these other shapes. Now notice that these two shapes are the exact same size in width, I mean, not size, only shorter. And mine, the way I made them, they are not. So I'm just eyeballing them a little bit. And if I want to change the shape and size, I need to grab these handles to make them bigger or smaller, thinner or wider. This thing that I'm grabbing is in effect that bounding box, the same bounding box that if I were to grab a triangle, I can make the triangle thinner, taller, or wider. Okay. So that's what the bounding box is all about. It's to make a shape, move it, or change its not its shape. I won't make out of this with the bounding box a triangle, but out of this, what I can make is a long, thin rectangle or a square or a tall, thin rectangle. Oh, I didn't mean that. Tall, thin rectangle. Or as you can see, I could also choose to hover on the, I'm going to make it bigger, hover on the about 1/8 of an inch outside of my shape on any place. And when I go too far, it goes away. But when I'm just about 1/8 of an inch, I get this little double-headed arrow, then I can twirl it around in any direction that I want. Now I left it in a weird position. It's probably harder to find the right position for it again. It's easier to just undo that last twirl. So Control or Command Z puts it back in the right place. If I were to try to find it back in its right place, I might never really find the exact spot. So ideally, I'll just undo that last twirl until I'm back into the right place, okay? Now, if I really have a place that's exactly perpendicular or horizontal, that's easy to find, but sometimes you put it something at the perfect little angle that's not an easy to find angle, and then you might want to just kind of get it back in there. Let's just finish these 2 rectangles, take a break, and then let's go and then we'll come back. So anyway, if I want to find out how wide or how thick this one was so that I can make it the same width, well, first of all, I could have just duplicated this and made it smaller, but say that since we did create a new one, how do I manage to know what size and shape this one is in order to make this one the same? Well, I click on this one, and what I can do is I can read over here on the top when I'm moving over to this transform right here. I can see that it's telling me that in width, it's 3.3145, and in height, it's 0.592. So see this over here? That's telling me the proportions of this thing. All I care about is the height because I want it to be exactly the same height. So what I can do is I can click and copy that if I want, or I can remember it. It's 0.5927. I select this one, and then I go over here and I click in there and I write 0.5927, right? So 5927, and then I hit return, and I got it to be the same way. Now there's much easier ways to get the same size, but this is just showing you that things can be done with numbers as well, not just by pulling them around as we've been doing up until now. And another way, now let's move it off of alignment so that it's kind of not well centered. You know, it's off in some weird way. And now we're going to have the computer align them centered to each other so we know that they're perfectly aligned. So I'm going to select both, okay? And I can do that by clicking and dragging like we've done in the past, or I can do that by holding one, shift, holding the other. So once you have both selected, we're going to go back over here to where we have all this properties panel. And here it says align. And I'm going to align them horizontal align center. I'm going to click that guy there. And so the computer now has aligned them, and I know that I don't have to be working on those smart guides and stuff. The computer just went ahead and aligned them for me. Okay. Now I can click and bring it down with my arrow tools if I want to make sure I don't change my alignment. And so tap, 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 or I can push it down, move it up and down, holding down the shift key. And if I hold it up and down, holding the shift key, it stays in the same position that I had it. It won't move. And then I can put it nearby, and then I can consider myself done with these little 2 things that kind of imitate that shape. Okay. And I know that it's perfectly aligned and it's exactly the same width. And I've created 2 of exactly a repetition of that, only and bigger. Let's save the file and let's take our break. Meanwhile, I forgot to check in the last 5 minutes. Any question about this stuff that we just did?
Yes, I tried to change the number in the transform box and I did something and I can't get my Control Z to undo it.
Okay, that's probably because you're still in the box like that. So Control Z doesn't work. Hit the escape key, top left key of your keyboard to get out of there first, and then you can try again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go ahead. Meanwhile, let's save our file. This is unsaved. We don't want to go off on break without saving the file. So let's do a file save. And on you guys at home, just save it wherever your school files are, or make a subfolder calling your classwork. But for VDI people, we're going to go to Google Drive, and we're going to have to shift over to My Drive. because we're going to save it in your own personal folders. And I believe we created a Illustrator class file summer last week. And then we had the practice shapes file. Here we're going to create this folder. We're going to call it robot, make robot shapes, right? Because we're going to create we're making the robot shapes that we're going to use to create that robot on the other side. And then say save. It'll always come up with, oh, do you want it to be compatible? And you go, yep, okay, say yes. And at the top, now your file should be in Adobe Illustrator with whatever name you gave your file. And so now we have both saved. All right, before we go on break, questions, any kind of questions? All right, so it's 3:05. We're going to take 15 minutes break. So we'll be back at 3:20. Okay, I'm going to write it in the chat so everyone remembers. Be back at 3:20 p.m. from break.
Deanna, at some point, maybe at the end of class, if you could show me how to apply the dots. I went into stroke, I set up the dots, and I couldn't get the dots to show up, the dashes.
That was from last week. The
Yeah.
dots. Okay, I'll show you when we get back into strokes. Yeah,
Okay,
and if
thank
not,
you.
at the end of class. Cool. So I'm gonna make everyone muted so that you can make all the noise you want. And I'll see you in 15 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Put my headsets back on. All right. Can somebody make noise? There you go. I can hear you. All right. So here we go. Welcome back. Interestingly enough, my husband has been on a class today, a non-credit class that he was taking. And he's saying how the teacher's closing up the class early. And I always go, I have so much material, I can't close the class early. And if I were learning, I would want it to go to the end. But then again, it is Friday and it's a long day. So that's why I recorded the classes. You can just catch up later, but that class wasn't recorded. So yeah, I guess different teachers are different, but I feel like there's so much to learn. I just want to cram it all in. Use every inch of it on both sides. And he's like, an hour early, class is closed. I'm like, okay.
It's a holiday weekend.
What's that? It's a holiday weekend. That is true. In fact, it's three big things happening in my house. First of all, we always participate in Imaginary, the chalk painting festival. You guys who are from
Is that
Santa
this
Barbara
weekend?
area, it's this weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not happening at the mission like every year, last year either. So people who participate do it in their driveways. And my son every year has made one of the regular sized big blocks, 4 by 6 feet or something. But this year they gave him a 7 by 7 block. So we're using our entire driveway, our 2 cars parked space. And so we got to start early on it. But on top of that, I'm saying we because I just watch, feed, color in the background, but he's the artist. But also both my kids are graduating high school and junior high. So I have 4 years difference between them. So it's crazy. It's just so much happening in the same next few days. So by the time next Friday comes over, it will have felt like 3 months under my belt. All right. So guys, let me share my screen again. Did any question come up over break before I share my screen that you might need to share your screen before I share mine? No?
No.
All right, so then I'll share mine. Okay. Now, here you guys go. So it's kind of cute. My son's this fun creature, and everyone has for their senior portraits these stayed portraits with nice stuff. And my son has one where he's doing this like kind of weird thing, and he just sent me I saw it during break. It's the center post of the magazine, of the cover page of the graduation, is my son doing this weird little thing on his face. I'm like, oh my God, he'll never change. He will never conform to being like the rest of the kids who care what they look like and would never do a funny face. I'm proud of it, as you can tell. He's an artist. He's a free spirit. All right. Here we have Illustrator. By talking about Illustrator, I am the expert at Photoshop. He is the expert at Illustrator. He has taken it way ahead of anything I ever do. And someday I'll show you some Illustrator work he's done because it's just fabulous. But I did use Illustrator, in fact, to do a portrait. This is in Bridge. So this portrait here, this is my son, the one that I'm telling you about. This is a headshot we had to take for something else he did. And this is just a regular photo traced in Illustrator to turn into an illustration. So we're going to work on that style of thing when we do tracings. I have a couple of samples of that you could also do something similar in Photoshop. This one is done in Illustrator. So most of the Illustrator is for creating art from scratch. But as I just showed you, that was a photograph, but brought into Illustrator to create an illustration out of it. So if you look for a photo that you really want to work on, we're going to work on this one as an example ourselves, but especially when sometimes people are moving ahead or they're ready and I'm helping someone else, you might want to have parallel images that you can work on yourself, so that you can work on the one I'm teaching you, and then you can have one that you're playing with that's one of your own photos, right? So consider look for a photo that has a lot of contrast. So in this case, to do this kind of work, we're going to want something that has shadows and lightness versus something that's flat. Okay, so something like this one, it also, you know, has like light here, and then it's kind of dark in the middle and some light. This wouldn't do so well with that. So find one of those where light is very directional. I have this other photo here. And again, this is the smooth, make the model look gorgeous, where there's light everywhere. But for this kind of treatment, it's good to have light that's more directional, where light is coming in from one side. So if you find a good, like right now I'm looking at, for example, the screenshot that that one of you guys has, Penelope has on her second computer, where it says wetlands 100. That has like very directional light on the left side of her face, and then the rest of it is a bit shadowy. So something like that, only with maybe a bit more of the face in the light, would be a good one to consider bringing in. Or if you look at like Catherine's video right now, look at Catherine Han right there. Her face is perfect right now because you have like a lot of light on the left side. Maybe she has a window or something on that side, and then she has a pretty dark, so you know, shadow on the nose, and then the other half of her face is really dark right there. So that would be a perfect photo for this kind of material. All right, so look, versus Bonnie's photo on her second computer, she's lit the same all over on her front face, right? Oh, and even so that wouldn't work for this kind of texture. So look for an image like that of a portrait of a friend or something that you like, and then we can bring it in to make that kind of a portrait when we work on that theme. Okay, back to Illustrator. So here we have two basic shapes. The two other shapes that make this little combined one shape are a triangle and a circle. So a circle we kind of learned how to make last week. Let's go and get another one of these rectangles and drag down to the ellipse tool. Let me, by the way, pick up again the spotlight. Just for those of you who are new to me, I put a little spotlight, this little red thing on my mouse so you see it better. Some people get confused because they say they don't see the red dot. That's just my mouse so that you can track where my mouse is going better, but yours should not have a red dot around it. Right, so go and click and hold the ellipse tool in your hand. And once you have it, now remember you're in a tool that makes nothing but circles. So once you make one, if you don't change out of it, you'll make more. So now if I click and drag, I can make any kind of shape of an ellipse I want until I let go. And then once I let go, that's kind of stuck in its place and it's hard to make something out of that. And if I want a perfect circle, it's better to pull it out as a circle from the start. So I'm going to hit the delete key to get rid of that. And this time when I click and drag, I'm going to hold down my shift key, and that forces it to be nothing but a circle. See, as I'm letting go. Now, the important thing though, is that if I let go now, I need to let go first of my mouse, because if I first let go of my shift key, then it kind of distorts again, see? So first I have to let go of my mouse, and then I let go of my shift key, and then I get my circle. Now I'm gonna get rid of that again, because I'm gonna show you one more thing. If the center point of the circle matters, like here, you drag it and you don't know where the circle will end up, right? But if you want the center point to be the place where you drag from, you actually not only hold the shift key, but you also hold the option key down. And then this time when you make the circle, it makes itself from the center point, see? So it's a bit different to drag and not know where it's going to end, or to do it from the center point. So here I can put my mouse where the pink line tells me is actually the center of that rectangle. See how I see point right there? I get that mark telling me, oh, that's the center. And right now I hold down the option key and the shift key, and then I pull out a circle, and I know that the circle is perfectly aligned with that one down there. Again, you can align it later, but sometimes it's good to do things right from the start. And that would be an example of how to do this already aligned center right from the start. So you hover your mouse back and forth above this one, and it'll tell you, oh, there I am. And then right from there, hold down your option key, hold down your shift, and pull out, and you make yourself a little circle that's a perfect circle and aligned to the rectangle below. All right,
What is
so it
the,
doesn't
equivalent of the option key if you have a PC?
Oh, sorry. The Option key for the Mac is the Alt key for the PC. Thank you. I'm always saying both, but I suddenly went into Mac mode. Option Alt. Alt
Okay.
key is these. It's so everything inside of all of these Adobe programs is basically 99.99999% identical for Mac and PC, except for Option and Alt are the same keys. And then on the Mac, you do Command, on the PC, you do Control. But the program itself is identical. It's just the shortcuts on the keyboard are different because of, but you know, Control, Command, they're both C's. It's the same key, only in two different names. And then the Alt, Mac, the PC only sees the word Alt. On the Mac, we have the button with both names, Option and Alt. So we see both names on the Mac. So basically it's the same key. All right, so did everyone make a little circle somewhere up top here? Now, notice that in proportion, at least for me, the circle is bigger in proportion to the space than whatever I just made. That's fine. I can keep changing that proportion, but if that center point mattered, if I now go and suddenly drag this out, I've moved it out of center, see? And I moved it out of being a circle. So I need to Control and Command to undo that, because again, it's better to undo than to fix. And now I will grab that shape again. And now by now I've left my ellipse building tool because I don't want that anymore. Now I've moved already on here by hitting the V key. I'm showing you now, but hit the V key. So now I get to handle those little handles of the bounding box to make it bigger. But if I want to keep it centered in Option and circle, I hold again the Option or Alt and the Shift key, and then I pull from the corner, and then it grows also in that kind of direction or mode, okay? Or I make it smaller. And there. So whenever you want it to be originating from the center and you want it to be a perfect circle, this Option or Alt originates from the center, Shift makes it a perfect circle. If we, by the way, we don't need a square right now, but the same with the rectangle tool key, if you hold down the Shift, you get a perfect square, okay? And if you pull out with the elliptical, you get a perfect circle. All right. So now here we have a circle that is perfect. And if you didn't get it in the perfect center, remember, select all three now, and then hit the align again. And so say that this ended up not aligned, select all three, hit this little align right here, and boom, now you aligned it. So, you know, it's not such a big deal if you didn't get it done the first time. You can align them at this point. All right. Everyone good with that one? All right, now we have a triangle. The triangle one was the one that was a little bit the hardest. Last week we created a triangle. Who remembers how we made a triangle? Because if you notice here in these what's called primitive shapes, the basic shapes does not have a triangle. Who remembers how we made one?
The polygon.
We use the polygon. The polygon has as many sides as you want. The basic polygon that you pull out has 6 sides. So everyone click on the polygon tool. And then when you create your first polygon until you let go, you basically end up with 6 sides, right? So you can twirl and shape until you get whatever polygon shape you want. Now, at this point, if you want to change, there's 2 ways to change how many sides things have. So let me show you the 2 ways. The one way that I always teach is with shortcuts. For people who love shortcuts, this is great. So pull one out, and before you let go, okay, so I'm not letting go now, then look at your keyboard. See, my mouse is still holding, it's still live. If you by chance let go of your mouse and it's at this point, forget it, delete it again, pull it out again. And now look at your keyboard and see that there's arrow keys there, left, right, top, and bottom. So I can now hit the top key and add sides to that polygon, or the bottom key, the bottom arrow, and take sides away. And I end up with a triangle. So I go up key to as many sides as I want. I don't know how many I got to there, or down key, take away, take away, take away, until I take away so many that I end up with a triangle. Okay. And so there I have a triangle. Does everyone get a triangle out of that? Go ahead and
No, sorry.
okay, that's fine. So try again, grab your polygon tool. I mean, you already had it. You don't need to grab it again if you already have it. People kind of keep going. I just want to make sure that that's the one you have and not another one. But once you have it, you don't need to keep grabbing it. drag out, and notice that now what I'm dragging out is a triangle because I just made one. So the tool remembers and now gives me another triangle. So now I'm going to add sides again to end up with a polygon. Okay. So, so Penelope, drag out a polygon, keep your mouse down. And remember, I recommended at the beginning to have a mouse because if you have a laptop touchpad, it's much harder to do this pulling and dragging and holding. You know what I mean? You have to manipulate your fingers in a way that definitely for working on these things, you should definitely have at least a mouse. I'll show you some other tools. Now, while you're still in the mode where it's live, on your keyboard, find the arrow keys. Do you find the arrow keys on your keyboard, Penelope?
I've got a box around it and I don't know how to get rid of and delete it
Okay.
to go back, and I keep getting them.
All right, so just as long as it's selected, hit the delete key on the keyboard, or if you're on a PC, instead of delete key, it's the backspace or the delete key, either one works, and that gets rid of it. Did that work? Penelope? Tell me if it worked. I know that your hands, of course, your sound is off and your hands are on the keyboard, so you can't answer me. But if not, I know. So then if not.
I can't get the background off on the other
All right, so
slide.
why don't you share your screen? Are you ready to share your screen? I'll stop my share.
Okay.
This whole, the arrow keys are not up and down are not that easy to learn. For some people, it's kind of like doing a piano four-handed. And for others, it's like the best thing ever. So I'll show you a different way
Okay, wait.
otherwise. But share your screen.
There's the share screen there.
Because there's many, many, many tools that use this up and down arrow keys. I'm showing it to you now with the polygon, but there's many times you might need this. So it's a good thing to learn. Okay, so now go ahead and start dragging out a, yep, click and drag. You've got it, you're fine. Now click and drag and start drawing out a polygon. Yeah, click and drag and don't let go of your mouse.
Oh.
No, you've got it. You don't need to keep going back to the polygon
So
tool.
where
Just
is it?
click. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Click and drag. You have to draw. Oh, you just clicked. So when you just clicked, you got to cancel. And now click and drag your mouse. Click, go to the white area. No. Go to the white area of your thing. Click and then drag your mouse. Yeah, there you go. You
There.
made your polygon. Okay.
Now,
When you let go, you've kind of sealed in how many sides it has. So now hit your backspace or delete key to get rid of it. Right. And now click and drag again. Nope, that's a single click, say cancel, which by the way, it works also. You can just say how many sides you want, but click and drag. And now hold on to that. And now look at your keyboard with your other hand, kind of cross hands, piano thing, and then pop the top and up and bottom arrow keys. And you'll see how, there you go. Now you're adding sides and then you're taking away sides. Got it?
got it.
Now let go of your mouse and there's your triangle formed. Now that triangle formed is in whatever position, right? So now I'm going to show you a little more about how to position it. Now go ahead and delete that one. And now I'm going to show you another way to get there. By the way, yeah, never mind. Let me stop your sharing. Okay, good. One more thing you can do. First of all, you know how I kept saying, no, don't just click. Well, you can just click. When you just click, then you get to say how many sides you want. So you can put this up and down and say that you want only 3 sides, right? So if you know how many sides you want, that's a good way to make one as well. So I was just trying to get her to learn the up and arrow keys, but that's a good way. You can make by single clicking by the numbers a shape, okay? But then there's one more.
You're not sharing.
Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for not pointing it out because I don't see it. So what I was saying is that you can just click these tools always. And when you just click, instead of click and drag, then you have to make them by the numbers. And sometimes you have a very specific size that they have to be. So then this works. So you move this up and you say, well, I want it to have 5 sides or 7 sides or whatever. So in this case, I went down to 3 sides. And then there you go. And you say, okay, there's your perfect triangle. So that's a perfectly okay way to do it as well. Sometimes you know the number you want. If I were, I'm going to delete that one again. What if I went to the rectangle and I clicked, then I can tell it exactly that I want it to be 2 by 3 inches, right? And I say, okay, and there it comes out. So doing it by the numbers works if you know the numbers that you want. I find that with Illustrator, rarely do I have a fixed size that I want a shape to be, because I don't do geometric kind of designs. But once I had a student who did all mandalas, and every single thing had to be exactly a certain proportion. And so in his case, he did every shape by the numbers, right? And it works fine. So anyway, last way to do this, I'm going to grab the rectangle tool again. If by the time you make it now, it only makes triangles, go ahead and make a triangle and add shape, add sides to it, and make a polygon again, because there's another cool little tool here, which is in this polygon here. See how there's like a little line, a little second, like a little box right there next to this. Okay.
I'm graduate. Well, not graduate. I mean, like, I have no more high school. Done.
Okay, my son has just come on his last day of school. Hi, sweetie. Congratulations on being an adult. All right.
Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. All right. I got an adult in the house. Ah, okay. So what I was trying to show you is that this little, oh, not working. Why is it not working? It should be yellow. There we go. Ah, there we go. I can grab that little tiny, like, there's like a little, like diamond shape at the edge of one of the sides that when you hover over, it says plus minus. And I can go plus minus on that and change how many sides the shape has. It's a little bit gimmicky, but for some of you guys, you might like that. I don't ever normally teach that, but anyway, pull out one of these, and right next to the one of these many little anchor handles has a little diamond shape, and you hover around until it becomes a plus minus, and then you can take sides or add sides away. Now, I don't think you can take sides away less than what it has. You can only add more sides to it. But once you are at how many sides it has, I can't get to a triangle from there. Anyway, all right, that was just kind of one of those. Let me throw out a little morsel for those of you who already know the basics and want to know a little bit extra. Because people ask me, what are those little things that are hanging around the edges? They all have a little utility or another. All right, so one way or another, let's make a triangle. So I'm going to do it by doing this just because, right? So let's make a, oh, well, think that there's a trick here. If you make it this way, one good news is that it appears perfectly horizontal. So this is one good thing about making it a three-sided one this way. If instead you made it by dragging out this thing, then it's harder because it comes out in whatever position. So go ahead and put your mouse, make your -3 to get your triangle, and then keep moving your mouse and hold down your shift key. And when you hold on your shift key, when it gets to one of these perfectly horizontal aligned positions, then it'll stay there. It'll kind of proportionally force itself to stay in where the base is a perfect rectangle. All right, so let's make a rectangle. Doesn't matter right now the proportion, because when you first make it, it's an equilateral. Notice that I automatically, without thinking it, hit my V key because I'm already in my V tool. And that's because I'm done making triangles. This is our triangle that we're keeping. So my brain already goes, I hit the V key to get out of my making triangle tools, because now I want to move it around, right? And what I want to do is I want to end up with a long and thin triangle like that one, right? Because this one isn't really useful to me. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of place it here where I want it to go. And then I have to begin to change its shape. So when we have a bounding box, we can make things, remember, skinnier or fatter by moving the sides. So if I move it to one side, it's going to get distorted. If I wanted it to happen from the center point, remember, what did I need to do to make it from the center point? If I hold down the Option key, it, like the circle, remember, it goes from the center point. So if I just grab and drag in, that works. Then I drag it back to the middle. But if I want to save myself an extra step and I want it to reduce from the center point, then I hold down the Option or Alt key when I'm bringing it in, and then it reduces it from the center point. Okay, just why not? If you can, why not do it that way? But if perchance you ended up with something over there, that's fine. Now let's grab all our shapes and center them again, and that'll get it done. Okay. Now this shape, I'm gonna make sure that the tip kind of goes into the tip. So you might need to get a little bit taller, so I have a bit wider of a base. And in fact, I think proportionally this is probably a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna bring the circle down a bit, and that seems about that proportion, right? So I've kind of imitated that over here. Once we are here, we're going to proceed to do something else. I want to make sure that everyone got to this shape. Is everyone here? Or are you on to making this shape happen? Or are you far off and you need some help because you're nowhere near to the
I'm
shape
far
happening?
off. I don't remember
All right.
how to center. I don't know how to move.
That's okay. So go ahead and share your screen. I'll give you a hand while everyone else is finishing up their shape. Now I want people who are waiting for me to do this, to give this support. Look at the shape that I made here that's blue versus the shape that we brought over, the one that I have as green, and hover over them and tell me, start thinking what might be the difference between one and the other. Meanwhile, here we go. Okay, you got your triangle. It's working. Make it a little bit skinnier. So go ahead and move it from the sides. Yeah, a little bit skinnier, maybe a little bit taller. Probably proportionally it's going to need. Okay. And then, yeah, that's about enough. All right. Now that one, drag it down from the color port down to the rectangle where it needs to be. Yeah, from the, yeah, that kind of down where it needs to be. So a little bit higher. It's going to end up being kind of there, a little bit lower. So it touches the other rectangle. Okay. Now you have two circles over there. So get rid of one. The circle is fine, but you also have like an oval back there. So get that second oval. So, no, that was actually a circle, which was good. So go Command Z and bring that circle back. Controller Command Z. You want that circle that you had there back. Controller Command, there you go. And what you want to get rid of, click away, because you can't click on one when the other is selected. So click away. And now click on the oval, because that's the one we don't need, and hit the delete key, because we don't want that one. Okay, now hit escape, because you entered a place where when you get this grayed out stuff, guys, everyone, see how for a moment everything went ghosted, like grayed out? That's because she double clicked an object. When you do that, you enter this thing called isolation mode you haven't learned yet. But if you ever get this mode, double click again, Penelope, so everyone can see what happened. Double click again. See how everything is kind of ghosted out except for that one thing. And then at one point, she even had that one ghosted out. If you're in this place where you find yourself everything ghosted out and you know what to do, hit your escape key to get out of it. Try it while working with her. Try it. Double click on something and you'll see how you go into this mode where everything else goes pale. I'll tell you what that is later. All right, Penelope, we're almost there. You've got all your shapes in order. Maybe your circle needs to be made a little bit smaller. So go grab one of the corners of it and hold the shift key so it doesn't distort. See how there it's distorting? So now Command Z, Control Z, because now you're left with an oval. Yeah, now grab the corner, hold down the shift key and make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, maybe not so much smaller. I don't know, a bit bigger than that, but yeah, it needs to be a little bit bigger. So don't worry about putting it in the right place. We'll use the align. So make it a little bit bigger now from the corner with the shift key, remember always. Select it, shift key, pull out. Perfect. Good. Now hit your escape key because you're in that isolation mode where everything is great. All right, now select all four shapes. Select the circle, the triangle, and your two rectangles. You were not that far. You kind of say, oh, I'm all over the place. You're just almost there. Click shift, and click shift. And now on the right side of your panels, go to the panels over to the right side of your Illustrator panels. Yep. So go down a little bit and then you'll find your align tools. So, oh, you were fine. Yeah. Right under that, under. Yeah, there you are, right on top of it. So the third choice is your center or horizontal. Yeah, click there. Boom, they align. All right. Now, the only thing that's left for you to do, yeah, I can get rid of that one, is that you need to put the circle and the triangle nearer to the rectangle. So click the circle needs to go down a bit more on that rectangle. So click just the circle. And now this is a good time to use your arrow keys and tap down with the arrow keys to nudge it down so it stays in the same alignment. Like that way you don't have to move it and lose its alignment. There you go. And now select also with a shift your triangle and then tap with your arrow down until you're touching the rectangle. Perfect. You're there. Awesome. Now click away so that you don't have anything selected and you're at the exact same point that I am. Do you have some kind of a stroke on it? Hold on. See how you have that greenish, lighter green line? Let me see. Click on that. Click on it to see if there's a stroke on it. Just select it. No, that's interesting. Does your rectangle have a stroke? Click on the rectangle. No, I don't see that. Click on the rectangle to see if it has a stroke. No, weird. You have that like white, that line. Maybe you left a little bit more space. Maybe tab the rectangle up one more, or the other one down with the arrow. Yeah, there you go. I guess you were right on the line and you were getting that little white line. Okay, perfect. Go ahead and save everyone your files once you got this little shape. Does anyone else need a hand? You're welcome. Does anyone else need a hand with the shapes? Nope. All right. Has anyone been able to find out what's that big difference between the one that we brought over from the other shape and the one that we just made? Remember I said while I'm working with Penelope, go and find out what's the difference between this shape and this one here.
Well, this one is just one path, and the shapes that we've created are all separate.
Yes, good observation there, Johnny. And by the way, everyone who has not taken this class before should pop in and say things. Don't just kind of wait for others to answer. Think it through and be loud, because the more you say things, the more you learn. Thank you, Johnny. This is one shape. Now, not only is it one shape, but it's one shape that's connected and one more shape. But when you click on him, you get it all at once. So there's two things happening here. First of all,
You're not
there's,
sharing.
oh, I'm so appreciate that you remind me. There's someone who always has to be the one to tell me because I forget. So if you notice that I talk at you without sharing, please be a Joyce and tell me that I'm not sharing. Thank you, Joyce. All right. So what I was saying is that two things are happening here. One, I have, when I click on this, I've got two different objects being selected at the same time without having to do a shift, right? So I have one object that's separate from the other. And then on top of that, this object is three pieces turned into one. So it really is only one object. So there's two different things happening here that we're far from getting. We're not that far from, but we don't have here. Okay. Here we have, I have to click on each one individually, right? And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And this is still three separate pieces. So there's two separate things happening. All right. So we're going to convert this into that. All right. So first, let's go ahead and select this that we did as separate pieces. And I don't know how much more space you have left here on the screen. So if you have space to move it up so that we can make another one here, fine. If you don't have space, we could also just open up another artboard. But I want to, maybe I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it all a little bit smaller. But to do this, I had to actually select everything. So what I did is I went back here and I grabbed enough that everything is selected. Hold down the corner with the shift key held down and make it a little bit smaller so that you can move it up so that you have about the same amount of space down here. All right. Now we're going to make a perfect copy of this. One way, like we did before, would be copy and paste, but we've already done that. Let me show you a more Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, the Adobe way of copying with a shortcut. So select everything, put your mouse over it and hold down depending if you're on a PC or on a Mac, you have to hold down the Option or Alt key. And notice that when you hold down the Option or Alt key, see how I get a little, my arrow becomes kind of like a duplicate arrow, a black one and a white one. See how I get two little arrows there? When I have those two little arrows, I can pull out, and I've just pulled out a perfect copy. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Select your stuff. hold down Option or Alt, and just drag out a copy of what you just made. Now, there's so many times when this is so much more useful than a copy paste because you're in the midst of some other weird tool and you can't do a copy paste. And all you need to do is hold down the Option key and drag. And there you go. You have another little of whatever you're selecting. It's a pretty cool little shortcut. Okay. Did everyone get a little duplicate?
Yes.
All right. So these are two of the same thing, meaning they're all separate.
No.
Okay, that's fine. So Penelope, go ahead and select, let me just undo this one. Select the original shape that you did when we were together, such that you have all 4 pieces selected. So kind of click and drag. Make sure that you're in the move or V or selection tool and do kind of like a big catch of everything. And now hover over your shape with your mouse. Before you do anything, hold down your Option or Alt key and your mouse will turn. If you can see, I have 2 little arrows. I used to call it a double-headed arrow, but someone corrected me. A double-headed arrow usually is one that has an arrow on each point. So this is a duplicate. You'll have one on top of the other arrow. Are you seeing that happening for you, Penelope? Holding down the Option or Alt key. I know that you're doing it, so you can't answer. When you're working with me, turn your mute off, like not temporarily, but turn it off while you're working with me so I can hear your answers. Because when your hands are busy, you can't go and turn it off. And then, I don't know if you're following, but if you do see that 2 black and white arrow, then just drag out. And when you let go of your mouse, then you let go of your Option key. So you guys are getting how the shortcuts kept held down while we're doing things with the mouse. And we always let go of our mouse first, and then we let go of whatever key we're holding down. Penelope, were you able to do that, or do you want to share?
Apparently my space bar doesn't unmute me. Yes, I have 2, but the circle is off the page.
Then just, if it ended up being kind of like that or something, that's okay. Just grab it and drag it in. If you don't have space, then make it a bit smaller. Move it around like as a group.
You make it smaller, just take the
So
corner.
select the whole thing, grab the corner, hold down Shift so we don't lose the proportions, and you can make it as smaller as big as you want. This is one of those benefits of Illustrator. It doesn't lose quality. You can make it weensy, teensy, weensy, beansy, beansy, bean. And then as long as you hold down Shift, you can make it really big and it's perfect proportion. Okay. So as long as you hold down the Shift and you move it from the corner, you'll get a perfectly bigger or smaller shape. All right, guys. So now what we need to do is first we need to make this be one shape. All right. We're gonna practice that tool more a little bit later, but for now we're gonna just use it really quickly, which is called the Shape Builder tool. Select the 3 top shapes. We don't want that to be part of the shape. We want these 3 to become one shape. Yeah. So select all 3. And you can do it with a Shift, Click, Shift. I find that sometimes the Shift, Click, Shift means that maybe you make a mistake and move something over a little bit. So it's safer than to move something to just do this little dragnet where you're not really selecting them and they don't all move amongst each other, right? Select these 3 shapes. Then over here on the left side where we have all our tools, there's this one guy that hover over this little shape. It says Shape Builder tool, and it's kind of 2 down from the type tool, the T. It's that little guy right there. Shortcut for it is Shift M. I doubt anyone ever remembers that, so just go and click on that Shape Builder tool. And what this does is it's going to allow us to join. Okay, so right now, there's many other things this tool does, but right now, when I hover over my pieces, let me actually zoom in to this so that you guys can see really well what I'm showing. I'm grabbing my Shape Builder tool. So, okay, so when you have these 3 selected, grab your Shape Builder tool. Everything that you need has to be selected first. The bounding box disappears. And notice what happens when my mouse touches one of these shapes. It becomes kind of like cross-hatched or something. See that? Now what I need to do is I need to start, and there's a plus sign. See how there's a plus sign to my arrow? So that means I'm about to join things. So I'm going to click and drag across these things. I'm going to join these, and I'm going to join these. And boom, I have made one shape out of these 3 separate shapes. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that. And I did it in 2 or 3 steps, but you could also do it in one long step where I can just kind of go, and there you go. As long as I touch a little bit of each part, I've made one shape. Did that work for everyone? Penelope, do you need a hand with this? Oh, my earbuds hurting my ears after many
Yes,
hours.
probably.
All right, so go ahead and give me a screen share.
Screen share. I keep changing it. Screen share, screen share. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
AI and
All right, so you're right there. Now what you need to do is go grab your shape builder tool, which is, oh, wait, you had it selected, now you deselected. So select again, somehow, hold on. Go select your shapes again that they were selected before. You need to start with selected shapes. So go grab, yeah, grab those 3, click and drag. Not the bottom one, not the bottom one, just the top 3, the circle, the triangle, and the first rectangle. So not the bottom one, no. Stop again. We can't join objects that are not together. See how the bottom rectangle is not together? So that's not going to work. So click away and now select only, yeah, not that one. Click away. And now drag your little net around the circle, triangle, and rectangle that are at the top. Stop right there. Right there. Perfect. Now go over to the left and pick up your shape builder tool, which is one down, that one. Click on that one. Cool. And now go and drag a line across all of them so that they all kind of touch. So click on that, that, and that. Perfect. Let go. Yay, you got your shape.
thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Perfect. By the way, I really appreciate how Penelope isn't waiting until she's 10 steps behind. Notice that each time she's a little bit behind and I check in, she says yes, shares your screen, we move on. And it takes just a few seconds versus if by now she was like 10 steps behind, like some people wait that long to ask for help, then it's much harder to catch you up. Okay, so for anyone, once moment you get lost, please remember to, in the moment, the way she's doing, access me for help. Oh, share my screen. This time I remembered myself. Miracle of miracles.
Hey, Deanna, this is Dorothy.
Yes.
Mine, I couldn't connect mine. I connected
Okay.
the ball and the triangle, but not to the.
Not the bottom rectangle. Maybe it wasn't selected. So go ahead and do a Command Z and undo, and do your selection again. Because if it wasn't selected, it wouldn't work. And then if that's not enough, then I'll have you share your screen. But try to hit escape first, because you're probably, I'm hearing that little duk, like you're in some other tool. So hit your escape key, select your selection tool again. Once you've undone, Command Z or Control Z, and then reselect your top 3 shapes. If the shape is not part of the selection, it won't join with the selection, with the shape builder tool.
It is. But
All right, so then if it's not working, then go ahead and I'll stop my share and you'll share your screen. Okay, go ahead. All right, so looks to me like you joined them. I don't know, go and select the top.
This is
Where did
the
you
one
do?
I was working on.
Oh, that's the one you're trying to work on?
Mhm.
Well, notice then that it won't work because your rectangle isn't overlapping your triangle. See how there's a little white line between them? They're not overlapping. And if they're not overlapping, this is not going to work. So yeah, that was the reason. So now select all 3. Oh, wait, you've got something weird happening there. You didn't undo. So you have like a click and drag your circle somewhere. Because see how, go ahead and click and drag out. Let's see what's happening. Click and drag to the right. What's happening there? Yeah, you made some kind of your last join didn't work. So let go and do Control or Command Z a bunch of times. Control, Command Z, until keep going. One more time. There you go. I think you still have a weird angle
I
there.
still have a thing there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So drag it out and let's see what's happening now. Click away first. Click away. Click on that rectangle and that triangle and let's see if there's something strange happening. You already seem to have joined them. Like you made a group out of it, which I haven't taught you to make a group yet.
Yeah, I
Maybe did
joined
in the
these
past.
two, but not.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
No.
connect
So
that.
go ahead and keep doing undo until until we're all undone. There we go. Now you have 3 individual shapes. Okay. Now select all 3. Cool. All right. Now I'm not sure if those triangle and rectangle overlap enough or there's an issue there, but go ahead and give it a try. Put the shape builder tool on your tip of your tool, which is that one. Yeah. Perfect. And now drag across and down. And there you go. That'll work.
Let's see.
Huh. Something didn't work there. Yeah, something didn't work there. Click away. It's like it didn't.
Oh, it is.
No, there's a path. There's something weird there. There's like another path. Move it around and you'll see you're leaving like a path behind. Move it to the right. Grab everything and move it to the right and let go. You need to touch it for it to move. Yeah, they're not connected. You're barely on the edge. If you were to zoom in, you probably have a hairline in between. Just make them bigger. Just stretch it from the top so it inserts itself into half of the circle and stretch it from the bottom so it inserts into half of the rectangle. Yeah, grab that, move it up, up, up. Yeah, and now grab the bottom handle and stretch it out. No, not the side, but the middle one. Yeah, so it just goes straight out and make it finish at the middle half of the rectangle. Like keep going so that there's a big overlap so that yeah, there you go. So now you're for sure overlapping all 3. Good. Now select all 3 and run that shape builder hand again. When you leave things on the edge, we're so far zoomed out that it looks like they're touching. But if you were to zoom in, you'll find out there's a hairline of space between them. So let go of your mouse. Yeah, you still have a weirdness there, but trying to figure out what that weirdness is, but click away for a second so that this whole selection, and now grab your shape and try to move it. I think it's fine right now, but let's see. Okay, let go. No, move it out of the way, move it out of the way, move it out of the way, move it out of the way. You've got a little thing there that we need to get rid of, so move it out. There you go. Now grab that little, click away, grab that little thing and delete it. It's like a little bit that's, oh, I see what's happening. Okay, Command Z. Let me explain what's happening. Go ahead, Control and Command Z, and then I'll try to. This is a good teaching lesson for everyone, so pay attention, everyone. I'm going to request remote control so I can show you what's happening, because this is the kind of stuff that can happen to anyone, and it's hard to understand what's happening. Okay, can you make this much bigger so that first of all people can see what's happening? So can you like Control or Command plus plus plus? Keep going. Command plus a few more times. So one more time. Okay. So now see how the little tip of the triangle is not part of it, and that was that little weirdness that I could see happening. Okay. Now Control or Command Z until we get back to where we were, and then I'll show you what happened there. Control and Command Z so that everything backs up. Tap the Z a few times.
Control and Command?
No, I don't know if you're a Mac or a PC, so I'm saying both. Which one are you, PC or Mac? Mac. Okay, so Mac, Z, Mac, it's a Command and then Z, Z, Z. So see that she has a little teensy triangle. Can you see right there that there's a little triangle right underneath? It's hard to see, but you can see that I'm outlining it, right? Plus the other one. So that little thing is doing some weird stuff. Now, see if you can Command Z your way out of having that little weird thing there. And if not, we need to move it and find it ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to stop now and I'm going to move this out of the way myself. So now don't move your mouse anymore. So I can move, so I can control it. Okay, so I'm trying to see that where that thing came from. Oh, it's a little intersect of your, okay. So this is what was happening. This little guy, at some point when she first used the shape builder, she ended up breaking up the tip of this little triangle because she did a shape builder on just the circle. We're going to work with this tool a little bit more and you'll understand what's happening once we do the next shape that we're going to do. But basically the shape builder also breaks out shapes. Okay. So in this case, her shape got broken. And then when she was trying to put them all together, that little tiny guy was getting left behind. So I'm gonna, I don't know that I can control Z your shapes. You need to control Z, Z, Z your way out of all of that. So keep doing
How
control
about she
Z.
just delete all that and just option drag a new one?
Yeah, but I'm trying to show what's happening so people understand. The easy thing is just do it again, right? But I'm just trying to explain now. Keep going to control Z a few more times. As long as you see that separate piece there. Okay, perfect. Now let go. Now we're done. Now, this is at this point, this is a perfect circle. If I move it, now I'm moving your mouse again, so don't move yours. See now, she made her way out of that problem, see, by having the shape connect. All right. So now let me show you. I want to show you what happened so you guys understand what happened. Let me put it back in the center. Remote controlling is a very imprecise process. It doesn't do it very well, but it gives me the chance. So I'm going to make this bigger so you can see really well what's happening. So first of all, see as I zoomed in how these two were not touching, that when it was zoomed out, they looked like they were touching, but as soon as zoom in, they're not. So that was the reason her bottom was not connecting. So I'm going to just expand it so that it's not letting me. Can you do it? It's not letting me. Can you expand yours? Oh, do you have a copy there? Yeah. Hold on. Oh, that's another reason things were weird. Okay. There we go. Now we're expanding one shape into the other, right? So that's the first thing that I asked you to overlap them really well. So now they're overlapping really well. But let me show you when you select all three of these and you use this tool, notice that in reality, when I hover with this tool, I'm not clicking yet. When I hover over this tool, see how I get a crosshatch on everything except for the tip? Because the shape builder tool can also break up, which is what happened to her. You remember how if I just click right now, and I will, and then we'll undo this. If you just click right now, what I've just done is I've told this shape to become that shape without the tip. See what I mean? Because I clicked right there. We'll learn more about this tool, but inadvertently she did this without meaning to. And then when you tried to join them, you had like another weird little companion in the bottom. So now, Controller Command Z, I can't do it because, oh, there, I was able to do it. So the important thing with this tool is to do it like all at once and to not miss a bit. So it's this place, plus this place, plus this place, plus that intersection, plus the rectangle. So now I've grabbed everything. Then I let go of my mouse. So now it's all one shape versus before she had clicked here, then clicked here, then clicked here. And so that left little bits and pieces hanging out. Okay, so if your shape got kind of weirded out, you got lucky this time because next time you could be doing one of these. So now you know this shape tool can't be just clicked because then it breaks the pieces apart. It needs to be dragged in one fell swoop. Okay, so I'm going to undo that and let you do the drag because you're the one who needs to learn, not me. Okay, so now it's you're controlling it. Go do your one fell swoop. I'm not on your mouse anymore.
But it says you're controlling my screen. But that's
It's okay, but I'm not moving my mouse, so that's okay. All right, so now click and drag, and don't just click, but keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and one more, keep going. Perfect. Now you got your perfect shape, okay? So no letting go in the midst of this process. Now, as I said before, this happened right now to her. Next time it would have happened to you. And now you know, because you saw us work through it in case you end up having these weird little sub shapes. Okay. All right.
Don't forget to share your screen.
Thank you. was about to start speaking and then you managed to interrupt me and tell me the important thing, which is share. I was like launching on to the next thing, and thank you for stopping me. All right. So does everyone have one shape now out of these three shapes?
Yes.
So let's back out a little bit because we're not completely done. Because although we have one shape here, we still have to select and then select to grab this one, right? Like this thing still isn't happening. Right now we still have two shapes now, which are better off than four shapes, but we've got two shapes. So this that is not connected, you cannot turn into one shape. But what you can do is you can group them so that they move as if they were one shape. Imagine you're making a flower, you make a center point and you make 10 petals, but they're not touching, but you want it to move as one flower. Then you can grab all those petals and the center point, group them, and then you move it as if it were one flower, which is what's happening here. This is kind of like the little headpiece of the robot or something like that. Let me see what parts. It's the headpiece. Oh, and it's the ears. Oh, it's the ear. It's the headpiece. Okay, this is the little robot headpiece. So basically we're going to need this top shape only for the ears. And then the top shape with the extra rectangle we're going to need for the headpiece. Okay, so we're going to want to have one example where it's just like this, and another example where these two are joined as a group. All right, so let's select this shape and separate it. The one that we just made is one piece. Let's make a duplicate of it. Hold down the Option key or Alt key and drag to the left. And there we go. We have now our earpiece. Got it? The one that's right here is going to be our two ears. And this one is going to be our headpiece. Select one, select the other with a shift, or select both at the same time. And now we're going to group them, which you can do with a right-click group. You can do here in the properties group, or you can go to Object and Group. Or what I like to do, which is a shortcut, Control G. Once you group them in one of those many ways, now when you try to go back and select it, they all move as one piece, even though they are separate, independent
I
pieces.
can't
Think
seem
of
to
it.
get that.
That's fine. I'll help you. But
Yeah.
that's the flower, so to say, the thing that needs to stay together. So select both the three shapes that turn into one that you made, plus the other one with shift click. And then all you need to do is go up to the object and group them. So object and group, or Control G. Okay, that should do it. You people might like to right click and say group. Now, once it's grouped, my only choice is to ungroup. So now I can ungroup it again. If I click away and see they're now separate. So I have to regroup it, and then it allows me to make a group. All right, so Penelope, did that work, or do you want to share your screen?
Might as well share the screen.
All right, you're an expert at that by now. And you're doing it but you do it so fast. It's really cool because, we move forward. All right, everyone, create your groups, create your earpiece, and then we'll be ready to move in. Okay, so somehow this got undone. We had made a one shape before with you, hadn't we? Or is it the top one? Yeah, that's the top one. That's the one that's one piece. So now grab this piece and we're going to make a copy of it first. So you've got it already. So click on it again, single click on it. No, yeah, perfect. And now put your mouse over it again. Put your mouse on top of the solids, not the space. Yeah, and now hold down the Alt key or Option key. I don't know what key you have on your keyboard, and drag out. Good. That's going to be your earpiece. Perfect. Let go. Great. Now go up on top and select just the top plus that bottom rectangle. Select that. You don't need to move it. Just undo. Click Command or Control Z to undo. You deleted, so now Command or Control Z to undo, and again another Z to undo your move. Cool. Now hold down the Shift key and click on that rectangle that's underneath. Cool. Now go up to Object and Group. or Control G. Okay, up there, group. Perfect. Now you got your perfect shapes. You got your group up there. You got your earpiece. And then the bottom set is the one that it's all still separate pieces. So you got all the right parts and pieces. Okay. Perfect. Save your files, everyone. Does anyone else have a question that you need to share before we move on? No? All right. Now I'm sharing my screen again. Hey, I preempted you guys. I remembered. Yay. All right. Good. So we got our little head pieces. Let's head over for a second to this first file now, the drawing shapes. And we've made our little antennas. Let's see if there's other stuff we need to make. First of all, let's not assume we need to make, first let's bring those pieces in. Let's bring those pieces in since we just made them. Let's go over here, grab maybe just the head piece, this one, the one that's the group. Okay, grab that one. And let's do a copy. So Control C, Command C, right click copy. No, actually in this case, you can't right click. So just edit copy or Control C if you're on a PC, Command C if you're on a Mac. Copy the one that's the one, it's the group with the top piece plus the rectangle. All right, copied it. Let's go to the robot shapes and let's paste it, which is Control or Command V as in victory. All right, so we're going to move over this thing and we're going to zoom in, say Control plus, because we definitely need to resize this thing, right? Now, we made this on our own without looking at the guide. So our little antenna might not be identical to theirs, or a little headpiece might not be identical, but it's near enough. So how do I make it small enough to place on top of that template without distorting it?
Scale it down with the Shift key.
Grabbing it from the corners, hold down the Shift key and scale it down. And then we kind of try to place it over here and it's still too big. So what I like to do is I put one corner in the right size spot right there. I'll put right that corner where it should be, right there. Maybe I'll move it over a bit with my arrow keys. And now I'll hold down the Shift key, grab the other corner and drag down until I'm kind of over the top. And look at that, not bad. It's not the same because I didn't do it to size, but as long as it kind of gets there, that'll do the job. How's that going? Now, find a color that because I don't know what color you made it, but find a color that really stands out from this background, because you might have made it a red or something that's hard to see. Go find a color that's not white, so we know that these are the pieces that you made that stands out. So I'm going to make mine this bright, obnoxious green. So we know that it's mine, because I still have those lines underneath, right, that are marking and that are get confusing if I make it white. Maybe I'll make it even, I think blue was better. Yeah, I'm gonna make it blue. Maybe lighter blue. I think the original color I brought in was probably better. There you go. That's probably a better. I don't know. This is such a dark background that nothing really, it all kind of doesn't work too well, does it? How about boring beige? I'll teach you how to make new colors. I'm trying to go with a palette that they offer us here. I think yellow was the best option. Okay, I'm going to go with yellow. I'm making a yellow robot. Just trying to find what you guys on screen see best, because it's hard when it's on Zoom. There's my little headpiece. Let's head over to our other guy and let's bring the earpiece. So again, Control or Command C to copy, and then head over here, paste. Now this time we want to make this one be identical twice, right? So I'm going to show you how to reflect and rotate. We don't want to 2 times make it small, because then when I am with 2 different ones, we want this earpiece to be correctly we want to make one of them and then the other piece just be a perfect copy reflected, okay? Not try to redo it and then maybe get something a bit smaller or a bit bigger. Does that make sense? So, because it would be easy to just do that, but we want to learn some new tools, right? So hold it from the corner and rotate it. First of all, I'm going to do the left side first. So we're going to, not from the corner, I'm sorry, outside of the corner, put your mouse like 1/8 of an inch outside of the corner and start rotating. And if you leave it willy-nilly, it won't be straight. But if you, when you're about to where you need it to rotate to, hold down the shift key, and that will force it to be perfectly in this like rectangle, 90-degree angle. Okay. Then you let go of your mouse. There you go, have a perfectly sharp edged guy. And now, once again, we're going to grab one corner, hold down shift and make it smaller. Then we'll take it to where it needs to go, which is somewhere over here. And now I'm going to grab the other corner and bring it down till I get to about where this shape has to be. It's probably easier to make it a little bit bigger so that I hide some of those obnoxious lines. And there we go. So if you need help getting to this spot, I can help you get to this spot again. The most important thing is to remember to always hold down the shift key with all these movements so that everything stays proportional. We don't want suddenly to have this be tall and thin if this one was short and tight, and that's because we might have forgotten to hold down the shift key, okay? How are we doing there? I think
Good.
I'll probably just leave it in the blue that it started out with because I'm going to be bringing those shapes in blue, and that blue reads pretty well enough.
Diana, it seemed to work without holding the shift key.
It seems to, yes, because if you're kind of good with your hands, you might make it look good, but you see how it's not. And if you just bring it down, you might think it's kind of there, but in reality, you're distorting it. If you really check that circle, it's probably not a perfect circle anymore. The only way to make sure that that circle stays a perfect circle is if you actually do it by holding the shift key, because you might be really good and get it to be looking like it's okay, but it might not be okay. And you won't be able to tell versus you are sure it's okay as long as you hold down the shift key. Does that make sense? You might be steady-handed enough to be getting yourself an almost perfect circle, but probably not. Not you, anyone, not you like Penelope, but no one. It's hard to, I can't imagine by hand being able to make sure that my reduction of something is exactly the same unless I hold down my shift key. Plus, it also teaches you guys that the shift key is a primordial, it's one of those most important shortcuts to know in all of these programs, all the Adobe programs where you want to maintain the proportion of something as is, it's always going to be the shift. But even in Word and Excel and all these places, when things need to be the same, the shift key is always the shortcut on a computer that means hold the proportions, right? So learning this, you learn a shortcut for everything. All right, let's now get a perfect flip of this shape for this. Instead of bringing another copy in, reducing and getting something different, we're going to use this one now and duplicate it and flip it. So the first thing is we make a duplicate. How do you make a duplicate?
Option.
There's a way to, in one movement, duplicate and flip, but I don't want to, we're going to practice more later. You'll get good at this. Right now, we're going to do it in 2 steps. We'll duplicate it and then we'll flip it, just so that we have a clarity. So Option and Alt, like Johnny said, hold down, put your mouse over this bottom, hold down your Option and Alt until you move your mouse a bit and you get your little double arrows and click and drag. If you do it while holding your shift key on top of that, then it doesn't even hover and go up or down. It actually keeps moving straight until you get to the other end. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here. And we're going to have to end up adjusting it. There's a way to make sure that it arrives at the right spot, but right now I just want a duplicate. All right. Is everyone there? Do you have your little copy? You could have just copied and pasted, but here's the only issue with copying and pasting, that if you copy, right, and then you paste, the paste appears anywhere, usually kind of in the center of your window. Now, the center of our window happened to be right in the middle of this robot's nose right now, But what if I had been working on this right there and I do my paste, the center of my window is way out there. If I happen to be up there, center of my window is right out there. So coincidentally, since I'm working kind of in the center, if I paste right now, it's kind of there, but it's usually kind of random where it shows up versus if I just drag out, then I know that I'm getting something in exactly the right spot that I want. Okay. So does everyone have their ear copied? Their ear antenna piece copied? All right.
Yes.
So transforming it to flip it. If I go over here to the properties path, transform, I can flip. Let me just show you something about this properties panel that I've showed before. I want to show again. I'm going to deselect this shape first. Deselect. I'm ready to flip that. I go to my properties panel where my teacher told me it was, and I look and it's like, no idea. It's not here. I'm totally lost, right? Remember, you need to have the object selected for the things that need to happen to appear in this panel. If I select this object, then I have the choice to transform. Even though I've never flipped it up until now, I've always had the option to flip because an object can be flipped. But if I don't select it, there's nothing that can be flipped, so the option to flip doesn't show up. Does that make sense? These are called contextual tools that appear only if you need them. So when I select this shape, oh, the option to flip shows up, and here I have flip horizontal, vertically or horizontally. We want to flip it horizontally, so click there one time. And now we can use my arrow keys or push it over to make sure that we get it in exactly the right spot. And there we go. Now I've got my headpiece and my little ear pieces. Going well?
Yes.
Penelope, do you need a hand? By the way, back there, Anne and Allison, Faye, Joel, who I haven't heard yet, but Sika, I'm kind of allowing you to tell me how you're doing, but give me a little feedback now and then, little thumbs up like they're doing to make sure you're still out there and alive.
I'm good. I'm following along.
Perfect. Thank you. Allison.
I gotta move it in.
All right. So let's save this file because right now we've been using the one that comes from the general fund, so to say. You guys who are at home are kind of okay if you just keep altering your own. But for those of us who are on VDI, you can't save this. So VDI people, which are at this point, I think just Johnny and Penelope, let's do a file. Oh, actually, Joel is also on VDI. Let's do a save as. Google, My Drive, Illustrator files. And now this is, you can call this one Drawing Shapes Robot, My Drawing, or Diana's Drawing Shape Robots, or whatever you want to call it, because this is your folder. And this is you remaking it yourself. So those of you who want to maintain the original there at home, then do a save as well and make a copy so that you don't lose the original. But if you just want to keep one copy, then keep saving it one on top of the other. All right. When we're done building it, we can just drop out this background and it'll be its standalone robot. But right now we're still building it. Now it might seem like a simple shape, but you're learning lots of different things about building shapes with this, like the shape builder tool. We're going to learn about grouped shapes. We're going to learn about compound shapes for the circle. So there's a lot to this little shape that's going to teach you a lot to then make other more complicated shapes. So Penelope, did you manage to flip your little earpiece or do you need a hand?
Yep, it flipped nicely and I moved it in, so we're good. And I saved
Awesome.
as.
And you saved. Yay. Awesome. We're all doing great. Now, what I want to do in the next, 45 minutes or so that are left is I'll keep showing you the things that are different and hard. So I'll show you one eye or one arm because that's where you learn about compound pieces and one body. But then the rest is just more of the same. So I'm also going to let you guys fill it out. And as homework, you got to finish the robot and send me a screenshot of your finished robot. Okay. But right now I'm showing you the individual parts and pieces that need some learning, right? Because yes, you could make one circle and another circle and that's it. But one circle and another circle on top of each other won't necessarily give you this background where you see the bottom. Notice that if I click this robot and try to move it around, it's not connected to this shape. And yet I'm seeing this red thing there, right? Which I'm not seeing, but it's giving me that transparency. So there's something going on here that's not just two circles, one on top of the other, okay? It's not just a background. That is truly an emptiness. In fact, let me show you what I mean, because I'm gonna go ahead and make a little shape. Let me give it another wild color here. And I'm going to move this, just watch this part, okay? Notice what's gonna happen when I move this behind this robot. Some of this that looked like it was transparency is transparency, and other stuff is not transparency. It's a compound shape that happens to be the same color as the background. See that? Now you could choose differently. You can choose to make the circle be transparent just like that. But then if you put this robot on top of other stuff, it'd always be weird to have different things transparenting through its eyes, because they are really part of the shape, part of the face, right? That said, you can choose here. We actually also have a belly that might look like it was transparent, but it's not. But we can also choose to do that. We can make this be transparent and see what's there. And maybe you can put a little, bag of French fries in there, and the robot's eating some French fries or whatever, a wrench or whatever it is that robots eat. So we can choose to make that be just a box that's that color, which is what it is this time. Or we can have it be an empty space inside of this body shape, in which case we'll see whatever's put behind it, okay? So there's just two different things that you would do to make one or the other happen. So I'll teach you, and then you choose to make your own little robot with something in the belly or nothing in the belly. All right, so first of all, how do we make this shape? Okay, let's go back to the make robot shapes place, and we've kind of made a lot of these in this page. Let's leave this page alone. Let's open another artboard. So this is a good time to create more artboards. So we can go over here, and where it says artboard 1, we can just go ahead and add another artboard, which I don't like how I'm trying to use with you guys the essential tools instead of going into the big set of tools that I always give you guys. So one thing I don't like about this essential, remember I told you at the beginning that there is different tools that we could use. The first day I showed you the workspaces. The essentials in the past, classic, had many more tools. I can see how that could have been confusing for a beginner. So they simplified it to this essentials that's now called essentials that you all started with, because the essentials classic has a lot more stuff. But I find that it's missing some basic things. And one of the things I like to have is the ability to make more artboards quickly. So let's add a panel here that's missing. So whenever there's a panel you want that's not here, you can go up to window and pull it up. So let's go up to the window word and pull up the artboards panel. So when we pull up a new panel that's now, that was not there, it pops up in here for us, right? And then I can either have it just use it and get rid of it, or since I'm going to be wanting to make more artboards for this document quite a bit, I can also dock it. So it appeared kind of here in the middle, right? So I can dock it so that it's part of this by dragging it over. And when you see these big blue lines that are going to appear once I do this, you'll see that it'll choose to dock itself. I can make it another tab inside of here, or I can have it docked as an extra little thing right here. So watch, that's what I'm going to choose to do. I'm going to move over here until I'm carrying it, and nothing happens until what's under my mouse actually touches the line. So there goes my mouse, touch that line, and see how suddenly I see that big blue line. I let go, and I've made another panel, but I don't really want such a big panel. It occupies too much of my space. So I'm going to go over to this little double-sided arrow, and I'm going to collapse it so that it just sits there as a panel that's collapsed, but that is easy for me to access just by clicking on this icon. I get my artboards and let go, artboards and let go. So let me show you all of that process one more time. I'm going to get rid of that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. That was not my intention. Hold on. My intention was to just get rid of this really quickly. When you attach this little artboard panel, it comes in different sizes. You can change it, make it bigger or smaller. And I want to make it as small as can be. And so these little double-headed arrows allow me to make it bigger or smaller. And then here you can put it down to as small as a little column. Now, if you don't want that anymore, and right now I'm going to some of you, okay, let me bring another panel, just to show you. Some of you might have not stopped there, so I'm going to bring out, I don't know, the brushes panel. If you instead made a mistake and dropped it kind of in here, then it goes into this set of panels and becomes. So my request was to drop it when you kind of hit this long blue edge, and that's when you get it kind of sitting there in that corner. Okay, so wherever it is, either if you popped it in here as a little tab, then you would say that says artboards. If you didn't pop it in there as a tab and you got it right here, maybe it became really big, so then you move it by hand into a small version, or maybe it's still in that kind of big artboard mode, occupying 2 big panels. Click on the little double-headed arrow to collapse it. And now we're set, okay? So does everyone have their little artboards panel somewhere in there? All of these panels that we have can be reshaped, resized, replaced, because you have one set you start with and then you move things around all you want. Right now,
What
all I
are
want
those
is,
2 shapes that you're pointing to?
so this here is the icon that allows me to open the artboards panel. This is an icon that allows me to export my assets, which is how you would build things if you're going to make use these for a website later,
I
or
only
for
have
other
one.
things. Do you have the one that says artboard? That's the only one that you
Yes.
need. That's fine. That's all the one that we need. We're never going to use the other one. It just comes with the panel.
Okay.
So click on this one now. And now it's easy to have it pop in when I need it and pop out, so it doesn't occupy constant big space, because only now and then do I add pages. All right, so click on this little artboards panel, and we want to add another artboard. And so click on this little plus sign, and boom, now I have my artboard too. I collapse it again by clicking again on this icon, and now I have my second artboard. So basically this is what's happening right now. I have exactly the same of whatever I started with. Some of you started with a long one, horizontal one, but I have 2 of what I started with, okay? All right.
Could you repeat what you did again?
I just hit the little plus sign to make a second artboard. Okay, that's all.
Oh, I get,
Now I have
it
2
says
artboards.
name is artboard, and then I hit okay.
If you clicked on the word artboard too, then you might have renamed it or something, but other than that, I'm not sure. Maybe
Oh.
you're in some other spot. Okay, so do you want to share your screen so I can see where you are? If it's saying
Where
name
am
your
I?
artboard,
I
you're
don't
in
know.
a,
What am I minimizing here?
what's that?
I gotta figure out what I'm sharing here. Which screen am I? Okay. There. I'm gonna make it bigger.
Some of you guys can go ahead. Okay, so you're fine. You're in the artboard mode, but since you have it really expanded, your plus sign is way at the bottom. So let's go ahead and go to, wait, instead of going down there, you don't want 2 big panels like that. Stop moving your mouse around. You're fine. Go up to the word artboards. And now move up to where you see a little bit kitty corner onto the right, a little tiny double-headed arrow. Yeah, click on that guy. Perfect. Now click on the top icon. That's 2 artboards. There you go. And your little plus sign to make a new artboard is right there. Cool. Now collapse that by clicking on that little icon of the 2 artboards again, so it doesn't occupy all the space in the world. Yeah, perfect. And now you got your second artboard. Okay. And you have yours in portrait mode instead of landscape mode. That's perfectly fine. All right. Okay. So now
Green.
this, oh, thank you. I will always need that reminder. I'm like, I launch. Okay. All right. So I kind of taught you how to make this next shape. We did it last time. Let me go down here to see what shape I'm talking about, which is this shape. Who remembers how to make these shapes? I'm going to review it because there's 4 new people. Anyone?
On the rectangle, you pull the anchors in
Yeah.
and it rounds the corners.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Make a rectangle, right? And then go to these little circle thingies in there. Click and drag in, and there you go. You've made that shape. All right. So that one was relatively simple. So instead of making it here, let's just head over to the robots and let's just make his head and his belly, which are basically that shape, right? So let's grab our rectangle tool and we're going to want it to be the color that we're making our new robot now. So over here, like right now, it says white fill just because it's the last thing I touched was white. But if the last thing you touched was your shape, then that shape will be the already blue. So I recommend to not have to re-choose your color. If you just choose one of your shapes, there it is. That will be already preset into the shape that you want. If the last thing you touched was white, then the new one you make will be white. You know what I mean? Whatever you touch, it presets itself to that. Since I want a white belly, a blue belly, I'll touch a blue shape. There you go. So now I won't have to guess. Now, this is easy because there's only so many swatches and whatever color you have. But what if you have a convoluted color that is not so easy to choose? It's better to do it this way. All right, let's go grab your make rectangle tool. And we're going to make this tool kind of from end to end over here and try to match it with the size that's there. And let go, and then grab the little corners and bring them in until they kind of match our little robot. And that's the big belly of the beast. Now I can try to drag another one, and either way, your choice. I've already made the shape. I'm just gonna Option Alt drag over here, put the next one over there, and then I'm gonna reshape it so that I don't have to re-pull in the corners. That's just my choice. Another choice would have been to just remake another rectangle and drag the little edges again. Now, when it's small like this, sometimes it's really hard to see. So I highly recommend zooming into these things so that you can really get more of an idea of what's happening, okay? Because I thought I had touched the edges really well, but look when you zoom in, how not so well we were touching. And remember Dorothy, who thought her rectangle looked like her rectangle and triangle were touching, they weren't. And now you see that I hadn't really done that good of a job of matching. So now I don't need to hold down the shift this time because I'm trying to match this. So I don't need to be proportional. I'm just trying to make it match. So now I'm just going to not hold the shift and I'm going to resize my shape until it actually matches the belly of the robot. And I'm finding that my curve isn't identical. So I'm going to go and just kind of maybe pull the curve out a little bit more. And there you go. Now I feel like I've matched the belly of the robot. Okay. Now I'm going to hold down space bar and move up. And I'm going to grab this guy and try to match it to the shape that this little robot head has to have. That's probably good enough. And there's one more little shape that might be this one, which is that guy there, right there, that can be made here. So there's quite a few of these other shapes that we can make here. So let's make 1 or 2 of them because where we need to do some learning is around those circles. Well, let me just make 1 of these because then that same thing again and again is going to be those. Okay, so let's just make this shape here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. For this robot to be kind of symmetrical, that shape here shouldn't be any shape. It should probably be this one right there. Again, does that make sense? So that it's the same positioning and size. So I'm going to go grab by saying this one is what I mean is the head, right? So I'm gonna go make it a bit, so it's the head that if I bring down here, I'm gonna end up with that shape. So I'm gonna copy, once again, by holding down the Option Alt and bring down by holding the Shift key. See how it fits pretty well. And maybe the robot designer who designed this didn't use the same one because you see how they're not matching. If I had been the robot designer, I would have made it be the same, but I'm discovering this robot designer did not make it be the same. Okay, so then I'll stretch it out a little bit. Now that doesn't make sense to me. It should have been the same, but there you go. Now, what I do want to do is to make it be like a little canister. So I'm going to bring it down and there you go. Now we've made that shape. Now for you to really see what I made, I'm going to give it a different color. So basically this was that same shape that I had there, but just by grabbing the corner, since I ended up with that kind of little canister shape that this one, when I went to really open it up, I discovered that this looked like a little belly, but that's what it was. It was that little kind of long canister shape, little canoodle thingy. Okay, so now I'm going to give it the same color. And there you go. Now, we know now, because of how we did that little earpiece, that we could now join these two so that instead of having that shape and that shape, I could just have one shape that has these incorporated. They didn't do that in the robot. What we know better because we are, we've learned. So if you want to join these two, you're welcome to do that. So how would we do that to join these two? Just as a repeat of what we did before.
Use the shape builder tool.
Okay, but before I grab the shape builder tool, what do I need before? The shape builder tool needs an extra step before I grab the shape builder tool.
Click B.
Join them together.
Select,
I love it.
two
Finally,
shapes.
you're all answering. I love the different answers. That's the way to go. And when you're in class, usually I like a little choir of angels, I call it, everyone calling it out. Select, okay? Select just this, or select what? Select both, okay? So click that one, shift, click that one, or click and drag across these two. You might have noticed that these are not selectable because they're a template, so you're safe. Select these two, grab your shape builder tool, and then just kind of, as long as you drag across all three, not just these two, but that little portion, then you've got that one new shape. All right. So now we've made that little shape. Would have been hard to draw that, but by joining two simple shapes, you got that. How are we doing? Control, let's go ahead and save everyone, especially if you're on.
With the joining the shapes, mine looks like it kind of sliced it like happened last time.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
just-
I know it's gonna happen. That's why I wanted us to practice this again. Go ahead and share your screen. That's a typical, it was harder to distinguish in Dorothy because that triangle was so tiny that I had to zoom in to see it, but that's a typical thing that happens, which is why I was not surprised. And I'm not surprised that it's happening again. All right. Did you undo? First
okay.
Command Z to get rid of whatever you did do. Okay, and then select your two shapes.
No, wait, let me.
Oh no, actually look at that. You can tell it's been cut because look, see how her shape is now like, pull it out so people can see, drag it out.
Yeah.
See what happened to her shape? It got kind of sliced off. All right. So that's the equivalent of what happened with Dorothy with a little teeny triangle there. It didn't get joined. So now you have to first undo your way out of that. I mean, I guess you could join these, but just to make sure. So Command or Control Z, there you go. And now you have all of the shapes together, right? All right.
Yeah.
So basically all that happened, go ahead and grab the shape builder tool. All that happened there is watch, don't let go of your mouse. Just start dragging from the big part of the belly. When you go down, you see it, your brain sees it as two shapes, the big shape and the bottom shape. Wait. Your belly sees it like that, big shape and bottom shape. But notice that when you stop right there, Illustrator sees it as three shapes. It sees the top part, the middle part, and the bottom part. So if you stopped your line just at the top part, then you ended up having one top part and that little tub kind of thing that you had. So by now pulling down all the way down there, that's all you had to do. But it's just that you need to see how Illustrator, so go Control or Command Z again for a second so that you can see one more time. we see two shapes. Illustrator sees the intersection as a second or a third shape. You guys, I want you to start thinking the way Illustrator thinks. It says, oh, I have three potential pieces. Now that's going to be cool for when we want to drop out a little chunk, right? Maybe we want to drop out a little chunk. That'll be good. You'll see that in a minute when we do the circles and the belly of the beast. But right now, thinking the way Illustrator thinks, go and drag it again across all three portions, which we see is only two. One more. Perfect. Got it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for asking that. And thank you for sharing, guys. This is what I mean. When people share what's not working, it's a total learning thing for the rest. So never hesitate from trying to share when you have a question or something's not working, because I get to show a different thing that I wouldn't have thought of sharing. All right. All right. Let me go back to sharing my piece. Any other questions, you guys? Did this work for everyone? Do you all have your little three parts that we saw as two now showing up as one piece? Cool. Now, I'm sharing again. Class is going to be over soon, so I want to say something important. I was kind of in a hurry to get going today because we spend a lot of time with files and finding files, and I kind of overspent time on that. But I did miss out on something, which is there's 4 new people in the class, and I would like you to email me, all 4 people who came in today. I didn't get to hear what you want to learn, like what you're doing Illustrator for. So email me as part of your homework, kind of a little introduction, like I'm studying art, or I just have my new business, or I just want to learn because I love learning, or I want to do cartoons and find a way, whatever you're up to. There's people who are here for many different reasons, right? I do websites. I just want to, whatever you want to do. So I want to hear that from Sika, from Allison. I'm looking down here from, where are my other new people?
I sent you an email already.
Penelope, and
I
there's
sent you
one
an
more.
email with the goal.
There was one more new person. Did that new person leave? I guess so, because I think there was one more person. All right. Thank you. By the way, Joel wrote down the name of that little corner thing that I just called corner thing. If you look at the chat, Joel, who is very silently in the background participating in the class, that's J.S. Wall, that's Joel. He wrote the right name, which is Live Corner Widget. That's the name of that little thingy there that we use to get rid of the sharp corners that I never know the name of that tool. So Live Corner Widget. Thank you, Joel. All right. So now let's copy this shape, because I'm going to teach you how to make a hole in it the way that's not happened up here. So up here, this is just a rectangle, the color of the background. Got it? But that doesn't make sense, because once I take this background out, I have no hole in the belly of the beast. So I'm going to teach you how to make this be a compound shape where this gets knocked out from there and we have a hole in the belly of the robot. Okay. Now, you might then want to put another color behind it because it's a box or something else, or you might want to be transparent. I don't care. I'm trying to teach you compound shapes. So I'm going to use this example as how to build a compound shape. So let's select this little guy that we just made, copy it. Make sure to save this file, by the way, because here we're building it, but I want to make sure we have it saved. And now let's move over to our make robot shapes, where we're learning, and over there we're applying. All right, is everyone here? All right, let's grab this little guy with the, thank you, Joel, live corner widgets, and move it out of the way because we don't really need it anymore. We can even, in fact, delete it. And now let's do a Control or Command V, or a file edit paste, I guess, for those of you who don't like shortcuts. And here we go. We have our shape. Now I'm going to zoom in. So by selecting.
So tell me what you did again.
I did a copy of the shape, and then I moved to this new, to the other file, and I did a paste. Copy paste. All right. So I zoomed in because it's, you know, a smallish robot on the other page, and so that we have a better view of it. Whoa, I zoomed in a bit too much. Okay. All right. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and make a rectangle, and let's choose a different color. So choose your rectangles and let's go choose a different color so we don't make blue on top of blue, just so we see it, not because we really care what color it'll be, just something that's very different, just so you really see what's happening. So I'm making it be tangerine-ish kind of thing. And I don't care if it's well centered or not at first, just draw yourself a box. Proportionally, if you want to kind of look at the sample that we've got going here, let me see. Yeah, it's got not even, I was going to say the sides are the same distance, but not even. It's fatter on the sides than on the top. So it's not even proportionally very accurate. So whatever, it's just a rectangle somewhere in there. Now, when you first draw it, it would be hard to get it to be completely right. But remember, we have these smart guides to tell us when we're in the center of the thing. So if you ended up somewhere over there and you move it to the right, suddenly a bright guide will tell you that it's centered, and there it is, there's my guide. Another way, of course, was to select both and to hit the align center. So both ways work, right? I've shown you how to use the smart guides or how to use the align center. Sometimes the smart guides are a bit too like trying to fit itself into too many places and they're hard to find. So then both need to be selected, don't forget, because they need to be aligned to each other. Okay, so you can't just do the align if you have only one piece. Now, if I were to want to align that again into the second center, I could go over here and align it in a vertical center. So now it's centered it onto the shape. And you'll go, well, that's not the center of that thing. Well, it kind of is. If you extend these two edges, that is the center of this shape. It just isn't visually the center for us. So this doesn't really help us, right? So I'm going to undo that. Or I can just grab the middle and just drag it up a little bit again. But let me just show you a bit more about alignment, because now that we have two shapes that are different shapes, the alignment will teach you a bit more than if we had done it with two simple rectangles. Select both again. And let's head over here to the align panel again. And notice that there's a whole set of choices there. And then there's more. Whenever you want more options, see these three little dots, you get more. But let's first use the ones that are on top. We've been using the align horizontal center a lot because that's a very typical one to use. But I could have also chosen to align the shapes align left. So if I click on that, both of the left sides of the shape are going to align to each other. I could have chosen align right. And so both of the right sides of my shape are going to align to each other. Okay. When we do this with similar shapes, it almost seems logical. But when you do it different shapes, then you'll see how, again, Illustrator thinks it's not like it made the rectangle bigger to look like the same. It's just aligning, making the lines fit. Now, I'm going to center them again. And then here I'm going to go into vertical align top, vertical center, vertical bottom. I could do vertical bottom and then left align, and then that kind of fits, right? So you're moving it around with respect to each other. Let's put it back in the center. But now I've left it in the vertical align bottom. So let's go bring it back to middle, just so you guys get a feel for how those things work. Now, you can also tell it what to align to by using this little kind of, you're going to see this a lot in Illustrator and all these programs. You see it there. That's kind of the same idea. These little kind of 9 spots with that middle one, that's a simplified version of that thing. And it kind of refers to which corner are you talking to? Because are you talking about the top left, top middle, top right, center bottom, you know what I mean? Right bottom, right center, right. So that each one of these refers to one of those little handles, and the little center dot refers to the center. Now, I'm going to Control 0 so you see my entire screen. So you see the next thing that's happening. And this is not really for the robot, but just for you guys to understand the whole alignment a bit more. I could also say that was aligned to selection, right? That's fine. That was aligned to selection. But what if I said align to artboard? Then I could center this in the entire artboard, or align to the left of the artboard, or align to the right of the artboard. See what I mean? Very typically, you might want to center something. And so this is, I've changed that to align to artboard. So now I'm going to send it to the center top of the artboard. See what I mean?
So would that be an option that we would have selected when we made the artboard?
No,
in the
no,
beginning?
you're changing it right here. This is the moment you change that. You
Oh.
align to selection is the typical default one, because usually we want to align things to themselves. But there's the choice to align center and center when something you're designing really needs to be centered to the actual page, if that matters. It doesn't matter to us right now because it's a sample page, so we don't care about the artboard, but I'm just showing you an option. Now, align to selection is amongst each other, right? That's what we've been doing. And then there's the align to key object. You would have had to assign something as a key object. We don't have any of the object here, so I'm not going to show you that example right now, but you could have said, this is my key option, align to that, right? Anyway, just wanted to show you that things can be aligned to different things. Let's go back to align to selection, because that's the one that really matters to me. I'm going to make sure to finish this little compound object portion before we are done with at 5:15, which we have only a few more minutes for. So let's zoom back in if you haven't yet zoomed out. And let's make sure that this is mainly aligned to center. So that's the one that matters. And then we're going to pull it up a little bit, and I'm going to do that by selecting you had both selected, right? So you have to click away to deselect, select the front one again, and now shift it up by holding the shift so it stays centered. Move it up so that it stays in the right spot. And that seems about the right spot. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. I think that the one on the original robot, the belly was a little bit bigger. Anyway, there you go. So this is exactly what this robot has. It has a white body with a red or whatever maroon belly. That's what we just made here. Okay. But I want to go one step further, and I want to make this thing be empty. So we're going to use the same tool we've been using, the shape builder, to make this disappear. Select both shapes. Okay, and the only way to know is either shift first the small one and then the big one, or just drag and make sure that you have a little bit of each one connected and you know that both are selected. Let's go
I had
back.
trouble getting it to slide up.
What to slide up? This thing? Oh, you had it in the middle? Okay, so you have to click away. That's the thing, because it wouldn't have slid up if both were selected and you're trying to slide one up, then it's not going to do that. So you need to deselect, that's what I mean, click away, and then reselect only the inside. Then you'll be able to slide it up. Okay? It's important first to make sure you have only one selected. Did that work?
Yes.
Cool. Now click away again and reselect to have both pieces selected. All right. Now we're going to go over to the left, and we're going to pick up that same tool, the shape builder tool, which has many more fun things under its belt. And this time we don't want to join these. It's the other way around. We want to kind of knock out that belly. We want to make a hole. We want to cookie cutter it out. All right. So the shape builder tool is really good for that. Notice that if I have, and I'm going to show you, don't do this, but I have the good old plus sign. If I were to just kind of drag across this, it's been incorporated into the shape. That's what we did before. We do not want that. Pay attention that there is a plus sign to my arrow. What I want to do is turn that into a minus sign. The typical thing that gives me plus is shift. Shift, get more and more things selected. The typical thing that gives me a minus is the Alt or Option key. See how under that, my arrow now turns into a minus. So without holding the Alt or Option key, I have a plus. Holding the Alt key, it's a minus. Now that it's a minus, I can drag across what I don't want. And what I don't want is this rectangle. So I just drag a little line across that and let go. And boom, I have knocked out a little hole in my robot. And it's truly a hole, meaning if I put this over something else, and I'm going to copy and paste it just to make sure you guys are sure that it is a hole. I'm going to copy and paste it over here. And I'm going to show you that if I put it on top of stuff, there's truly a hole in there. Okay. I've knocked out a hole in my little shape. All right. Okay, so let's go and copy this little guy. Select it, Control C or edit copy. And let's head over to my little robot. And now we're going to replace this guy, this belly that we made, that we worked so hard on. We're going to select it and we're going to hit delete and we're going to paste in here our new belly that has a hole in it because it's going to be the one that's going to stay. Okay. And again, since we're looking at the template, it might not be exactly right to the template, but it's good enough. Now, there is a way to fix that. It's not knocked out forever. There's a way for me to actually get in there and fix that shape. So you know how you whet people's appetite? It's like at the end of the one series, you want to get people excited about the next one. So next week, I will tell you how to move that inside triangle so that it's perfectly accurate to the template. Ta-da-ta-da, to be continued. All right. Now, let's save both of these files. And especially for people on VDI, you want to back out carefully. We want to sign out of the Google Drive file stream. We want to sign out of VDI and all of that so that everything is in good shape to sign in next time you work. And if you guys work in between, I had told you originally that I wanted you guys to finish this robot, but I forgot that I still wanted to show you how to do these little double circles. So even if you finish it and send me something just because you want to work ahead a little bit more, consider that we're going to come back to this because actually these are also kind of complicated compound shapes that this is a compound shape that we make, by the way. We just made a compound shape. I didn't tell you the name. This is a compound shape, like a shape inside of a shape. We're going to have to be doing that a little bit for the eyes and for other stuff. So go ahead and give me some more work if you want, but we will build it on the shape side, you know, on this other thing, and then leave this one here so that we can keep working. Let's save both of them. And then let's just close the files. So you can just close them from up here, or you can go to file close, but if not, this little X right next to the file name also closes it. If you forgot to save, it'll say, oh, you didn't save. But if you did save, then it'll just close up. And then we should close the Illustrator. And then we can close our bridge. Don't forget to look for a photo. Now, for VDI people, this is pretty crucial. Go down to the little icon at the bottom where we always pick up our Google Drive from. Click on this little Google Drive icon and go to the gears, preferences, disconnect account. Gears, preferences, disconnect account. It's going to be gone. You're like, yes, because if you don't do the step when you try to work with them next week, they'll be all corrupted. So this is kind of where you want to leave it. And then you want to sign out of VDI. You want to open this little tab and we can just sign out, log out of VDI. And there you're done. Okay. So if we don't do that process carefully, then next week we have a whole half hour trying to get people to get their Google Drive to work. So that's why I wanted to lead people down the way down gently. All right. Any questions before we move on into our busy graduation weekend? All good. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Joyce. Penelope, do you need a hand before you sign out? Anyone else needs a hand?
Thank you.
Yes,
You're welcome, Sika. So,
Deanna, you were going to show me how to do the dots on the.
oh, you had asked about the dots. Ah, yes, I wish I hadn't signed out. So you share your screen because mine is signed out. Let me stop. You share your Illustrator screen and I'll show you how to do the dots.
Share screen. Share screen. And I made another rectangle.
Okay, so the dots work only with on the dots that we made the other day work on strokes.
Stroke.
So add a stroke. So say cancel, add a stroke to this shape that you made. Go to the stroke and give it a color.
Stroke.
No, first you need to give it a, can't do the dashed line. First
Yeah,
you need
have
to,
to do it here for color, make it yellow.
it's gonna be hard to see. That yellow is hard to see against white. Pretty as
Okay.
it might be.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine. That color is fine. And then make it very fat, just so that we can really see those dots well. So make it in points, make it, I don't know, 6
10 or
points, 10
12 or
points.
something.
Not something I normally recommend, but
Yeah,
for
but that's
learning.
fine.
Okay. All right. So now go to that stroke word and click on the word stroke.
Yep.
And now click on the dashed line. So there you go. That, when you just click on the dashed line, gives you a regular dashed line. When you start putting numbers in there, you will be changing the order, so to say. Like you make a small dash and a long dash and a small dash and a long dash. So that's what you're doing. So once you finish, you're choosing the size of your gap is only 5 points. Yeah.
Well, that's
so
very interesting because I didn't get those dots at all.
there's no dots. There they are. It's
When I went to stroke
uh-huh.
and then I clicked dash
Dash.
lines, I didn't get any dashed lines.
Yeah, look at your shape. It's
I did now, but when that was
oh
at home,
maybe you didn't have a stroke, or maybe you weren't selecting your shape, or I don't know,
maybe I
something
didn't
like that.
select.
Hmm.
That would do
So-
it. Okay. I knew it was something simple that I overlooked.
Yeah, no, there you go. Good point.
Okay. And then what we're going to do is get rid of. the
Oh, you need to do
makeup.
knock this out. So that select those two,
So we
select the new one, the belly of the robot plus the
can- so let's
rectangle.
see.
Select those two. You're in your make rectangle tool. So you need to go move to your V tool. Yep. Select those two guys, that one plus the green. So shift,
So
yeah, or drag from there, or just hold down the shift and click the green. Oh, undo. You just delete it. No, you just delete it. No. Undo. You just deleted the yellow one. So go undo because you deleted it. There we go. All right. Now select both.
select both. Okay.
Yeah, either click and drag down. There you go. That's enough. A little bit of it's enough. Okay. Now go to the shape builder tool on the left, the same one we used before,
one.
right there. Yeah. And now go hover over the yellow part and hold down your Option or Alt key
Alt.
until that little plus sign there turn into a minus. There you go. Now you can just kind of click that area and there you go. It's disappeared. Now you
Okay.
move it out and now change out of that tool because that tool is dangerous. Go back to your V
Yep.
tool and there you go. There's your belly. So now copy it and go take it back into your robot. Make a
it
copy
to the robot. Okay, cool.
and then put it in, delete this one and paste it in, paste the new one into here. And then position it and there you go. Then you've got your little belly of the beast.
Enough.
Cool.
And then
Great.
show us
Save the files.
that. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Now, I don't hang up because I want to make sure you sign out of the whole VDI correctly. So
I'm not
gonna
in
wait until you
VDI.
Oh, you're not in VDI. Good.
Replaced.
Cool.
And it's whatever.
Say okay.
There's an okay there.
Yep.
And then I just close it out, right?
Yep, you do. So especially if you need to save this one too. That's true. So yeah, say
We
save.
want to save this one too?
Yeah. You want to save.
Okay.
Keep our originating documents.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop your sharing. You're welcome.
And I did send you the email with the sample after watching the video yesterday.
Perfect.
Of some tools, and I talked about how I wanted to learn how to make a circle with a hole in the middle and a cross line. So I
Well,
think
there you
you
go.
taught me how I did.
Without knowing that's what you wanted, I just taught you how to do it.
Yeah,
So
and then I
good.
want to do some text around the
Okay.
shapes. So
Perfect.
work
We
on
will
that.
learn. That's all. We're gonna learn all of that. So that's awesome. Perfect.
thank you. Oh,
Okay,
and
guys.
one
Yeah.
other question. Helvetica, is that a font option in Illustrator?
you need it's an option if you have it in your computer or if it's part of the Creative Cloud. Since you have your own Creative Cloud version, you might have different fonts than the ones that VDI have. So just go see, put your tool in the type tool and type Helvetica and see if it pops up. And if it does without brackets, that means that you have it in your computer and you can use it. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
I
not,
don't think I do.
yeah. So then you can either
I went to
buy it, pay for
Adobe
it.
Stock and they had different Helvetica. It wasn't just Helvetica, it was Helvetica, something or other.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because they kind of hired, it's different designers and companies that do it. So yeah.
And I thought there might be a licensing issue.
So since you buy the Creative Cloud, you have to use the Helvetica version that Adobe uses, unless you own it from some time that you already purchased it for a certain project. But other than that, yeah, it's a licensing issue. If you get it from somewhere else, you need to pay for it. But by having the Creative Cloud, you're already paying for it for the
Okay.
version that Creative Cloud uses.
I'll find a font. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Great weekend.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Are we all set?
Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome, Dorothy. Bye, Leland. Bye, guys.